I suggest against physical violence.
I'm a pacifist. I'll pass this fist right through your face.
Yeah, amen. All right, perfect timing. So I guess is this everybody, right? We're all here. Looks like it. Am I missing anybody? I don't think so. Cool, fantastic. Let's get going here. Welcome to Give Me a Break. We are here to discuss today the auto pin scandal and 40-hour work week and why you're a lazy fuck if you only work 40 hours or not. We'll see. Let's start off with the auto pin controversy. And Ben, but before we do that, let's just go through everybody, tell everybody where you're at, who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff. We'll start with average debate enjoyer.
Tyler, I'm from New York. And I like stuff, you know? So let's get going.
Fantastic. There's Abers.
Hey, I'm Abers. You can find me on X at Abers09. You can find me on Twitch at AbersUnleashed. And I'm just kind of here.
Fantastic. Mr. Nonfon 420.
I'm Nonfon 420 on Twitch and Kick, and Nonfon on YouTube. I'm a liberal streamer. Go check me out if you wanna.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hi, Cal. You're muted.
Sorry, yep, I was muted. Yeah, I'm a debate coach out of Texas. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky. Same name.
Thank you so much. Big Papa Root. Big Papa, we got a bunch of names. Too many words. Buck Banshee.
Hi, I'm Big Papa Buckaroo. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky and YouTube. And I like debating. I love being opinionated. So
Fantastic. Pentuple.
Hey, I'm Pentuple TV, self-declared head of MAGA headquarters, and I stream baseball and politics.
Fantastic. And Premier Katya.
I'm Premier Katya on both Twitter and Blue Sky. I don't stream, but I'll go on any panel people ask me to. So hey, what's up?
hell yeah.
Fantastic. We like a team player. And on that note, let's get started talking about the auto pin controversy and whether it's a thing, whether it's not. If you don't know about the auto pin controversy, basically Biden's been other places when documents have been signed. Conservatives have said that it's questionable. And we're here to talk about why that is, or if it's anything, or if it's a nothing burger. Let's start with average debate enjoyer. What are your thoughts?
A little questionable. I can see why the eyebrows are raised. There's a little bit of smoke there, but generally at the end of the day, the accusations of fraud, the accusations of elderly abuse. We've had a long conversation about this over the week, so we're probably going to have to kind of like slowly rehash it for anyone watching, but I just don't think the accusations have the burden of proof on them, and I'm pretty sure previous rulings and overviews of AutoPen allow the president to sign documents like this. As long as Biden says he's on board with them, they're good to go.
I just want to issue a correction because this was done on the Tim Polecast when we were there. AutoPen is not a digital signature. That is DigiSign. AutoPen is a physical machine that they have in the White House. Usually they use it whenever, like they'll have a memo or something, like Obama did. They'll send it to the White House, and then they'll use the AutoPen there. Or like say they have like a lot of things, like 200 pardons. You know, the president will usually sign the first one, and then they'll have the AutoPen run through it. But there's controversy surrounding it because of his not being at that location. We don't have a memo.
Yeah.
It's been
to basically finish it up, what I'm saying here is I just don't think that the government has the right to tell the president what color ink to use, if he wants to sign a dick as his name, if he wants to do it over here instead of the Oval Office, or if he wants to do it remotely. I just don't think they have the authority to command that because it's a constitutional duty.
All right, thanks so much. Abers.
Necessarily have a problem with the auto pin as much as I do the precedent that has been set previously. So like, for instance, Obama used auto pin while he was on vacation, right? But Obama also issued like a written public memo stating his support for this thing whenever it was signed. So I think there's certain steps, and we just haven't seen anything yet. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but you know, if there's some type of memo or something where, you know, they said, oh, he specifically told them yes to sign these things, that would be great. But as of yet, we've yet to see anything like that.
Fantastic. Non-fun.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's fine for presidents to use AutoPen, and plenty of other presidents have done it before, and I don't think there's sufficient evidence to say that any of this shit was like actually like fraudulent or elder abuse. And by the way, if it was like a fraudulent signature or whatever, that's like already illegal, and like I'd be fine with investigating and prosecuting whoever for that. and that would probably make the pardons or whatever void. I think it's horrible that Trump is just saying that these pardons and executive orders are void, despite not actually having any solid evidence for it.
Thank you. Icon Rich.
Yeah, I for one would like to defend Trump from these accusations. You know, the fact that the Daily Mail found all these auto pen signatures from his first term. I just think it was very unfair of the Daily Mail to make those kind of accusations, as if the fact that he didn't go through the same clarifications that Obama did. To be fair, Obama, that was the first use of the auto pen, which is why he felt he needed to comment on it. I don't think it's fair to expect Trump to then have to do it in his first term during all of those things that he auto pen signed. And, you know, it's just very unfair to Trump for these accusations to be coming down towards him.
Buckaroo Banshee.
Neither the Constitution nor any statute prescribes the method by which executive clemency shall be exercised or evidenced. That's from 1929. I think the auto pen is fine. That's my take.
Fantastic. Thank you. Big Trouble.
So for me, this isn't about necessarily the auto pen, but it's essentially a question of forgery. To me, the signature that the president has is what it represents is the president's consent and authority. This cannot be delegated. When the president signs something himself, that's self-authenticating. That can't be forged. But when you use auto pen, you've separated it from that inherent intent that when the president has when he signs it. So to me, like Abby said, it's a very low bar. All we're asking, and this is an even lower bar than I think we should actually have. All I'm asking is for evidence that he was aware that his signature was being used for this. I actually think the level of evidence we should want is that this was of his initiative and something he desired to do. It's still a problem even if he knows about it and we just went and told him he did it. The problem is that the auto pen is not a delegation of the ability for the president to consent to something, which is required. That's what the signature represents. The auto pen is just a way of accomplishing the physical task of signing it. That's not a way to get around or delegate the intent or the consent of the president. So all I'm asking for here, and Tyler said, you know, this doesn't get past the burden of proof. The burden of proof is one. I think both sides have stipulated that Joe Biden wasn't there mentally. They removed him from the general ticket. So we've got that. Second, the fact that the pardons were written in auto pen suggests that there should be, even if it's verbal, some sort of authority or provided directive for the person who used the auto pen to do that. That's all that we're asking for. So I think it's an interesting question. I think that the fact that the people defending Biden here are trying to just deflect the burden of proof shows that they don't have any good evidence on their side. Because the easiest thing to show would just be one meeting, one memo, one statement ever that he said he wanted to do this. I mean, and these pardons are unique pardons in that they are preemptive pardons. We don't even really know why these people needed pardons. So like, it's very likely that these people could have just gotten their pardons in. He had no idea. They told him, "What are you going to do about it? You're going to go blow the lid on this whole thing?" I don't think that's I don't think that's a reasonable response. I don't think he's in a position to do that, especially if he's got mental capacity limitations. So to me, it's a question of forgery. It's not a question about the auto pen. I have no issues with the auto pen, but you can't delegate the consent of the president, and that's what I think is of concern here.
Thank you so much. Premier Katya.
So we talk about Obama as being the first to use the auto pin, but he was actually the first to use the auto pin to sign legislation, which was an extension of the Patriot Act, which sucks because the Patriot Act fucking sucks. But I digress. The actual first use of the auto pen was by Thomas Jefferson after it was patented in 1803. So we've clearly been using the auto pen for a hot minute. And in addition to that, the way that I see it is, we talk about like written stuff in addition to that, but we're talking about pardons here. Last year, the year before, it was ruled upon that for pardons, they didn't even need to be written down. Technically, they could be just expressed verbally to another individual, or the president could just declare, "Hey, this person's pardoned, I'm saying it out in the ether," and that would count. So I think, as long as we can assure from him, yes, okay, I wanted that to happen. Awesome. Done deal. Like, everything else is fine and smooth sailing from there.
All right, thank you so much.
And I think that the burden of proof would be on others.
Thank you so much. Go ahead. Open it up. Yes, sir.
Something also tells me the president could call literally any news station in the world and be like, I didn't approve these signatures, and they would be like, holy shit, and we would find out about it instantly.
That's what I was just about to get to. Pentuple challenged me directly, so I got some fucking notes, buddy. So self-authenticating is implied in the auto pen, and if you call it into question, if there's some sort of dispute over the authentication of the president's signature, what do we have in procedure for that? We take it to the court. And who is the witness? Who is the person whose power is being usurped, whose signature is being taken? It's Joe Biden. Do you think Joe Biden's going to testify against his own party? I absolutely do not. I think Joe Biden's
No, but he's going to have to testify. He's going to have to testify to when he gave the directive or something. He's going to have to give some sort of answer about when this was approved, about when they discussed it, how he granted the authority. If he can't point to when or how he granted the authority, that is an issue, right? I mean, like, this is the thing. How does this end up in court? Do you think that there's any way for this to end up in court other than somebody who has one of these like questionable pardons getting charged with something and then they challenge, like their defense is that they have a pardon and then that's how we address the issue? I haven't thought about it. I'm just asking this out loud.
I actually had
evidence. They could subpoena the executive clerk.
Yeah,
I'm just like, are they challenging the revocation of the pardons? So.
Well, I mean, maybe they can take it in front of the House or whatnot as well, just to investigate it, oversight, could take a look into it, just because it had the smoke warranted there. That all being said, though, if Biden's mental state was an issue, we have another process of dealing with that. It's the 25th Amendment. And yes, there was a cover-up. Yes, there was lies, but they didn't invoke the 25th, meaning Biden's power was
so Tyler, you bring that up, and that's an interesting comment, because I've heard on multiple panels that from prominent people that are panelists that are, hey, you know what? We're okay with Biden being incapacitated, the people around him, because they're going to push what we want or whatever. And to conservatives, that's terrifying, right? They're like, well, hold on. Y'all are saying that y'all didn't actually vote for the guy. Y'all voted for this nebulous group of people who are, what are they? What is the term they've been using for Elon? Unelected bureaucrats. Right?
Isn't that what gives Elon all the power?
Right? So y'all are sitting here bitching, about Elon, but y'all literally are saying at the same time, going, hey, we wanted all these unelected bureaucrats in there to run it for. I mean, isn't that like talking out of both sides of your mouth?
No, the people who were surrounding Biden were confirmed by Congress. The people who were around Biden were confirmed by Congress. Elon Musk was absolutely not. So that's a difference that people could make. I mean, I don't think that he was like incapacitated to that percent or that level, especially when he was elected back in 2020, that he was not able to perform any duties. I think that people do like way super upplay his mental state on one side and like people downplay it on the other. I think we're somewhere in the middle of the road. I think that both sides right now are sensationalizing that.
Not fun. You were saying something?
Yeah, I think there's a difference in intention and different in policy. Like, obviously, I can like some unelected bureaucrats and not like others. I mostly like the policy of the Biden administration, so I'm fine with him having unelected bureaucrats that I like do certain things that they have expertise in, because I also don't want all the executive control to be vested in one person. I do want checks and balances within the executive branch. I want people with expertise making decisions about what they have expertise in. And there's also, this would spiral off, but I think there is a difference in intention in that. I think a lot of it, like, unelected bureaucrats in Biden's administration were like genuinely trying to do the right thing. And I just don't have faith that Elon is doing that.
I see.
So, but the executive clerk is the one who typically handles auto pen signatures, and the executive clerk is an appointed position. It's not an elected position. So why would we have a problem with subpoenaing like the executive clerk and having her testify as to under what circumstances she was allowed to use the auto pen?
Yeah,
who told her to use it?
A lot of conservatives I know are like, well, why hasn't the executive clerk or any of these other people like testified like to meet this minimum bar if there was nothing nefarious going on? Like, what's the argument there? Wouldn't it just take, like, I don't even think that conservatives, at least on our side, would be like, oh, we need a ton of proof. It'd be like, okay, like for the pardons. If we had proof, like when Trump did the pardons, he came out the next day and goes, I pardoned all these motherfuckers, right? And he's like, maybe he signed the first one, then auto-pinned the rest because there's, 200 of them or however many there were, right? Like, I'd probably be okay with that if Biden said that, at least as a conservative. But, like, would y'all be okay with that if someone was like, if they come out and said that in Temple or Abbey?
Yeah, if someone testified at Congress and said, hey, look, this directive came to me verbally from Joe Biden himself. I spoke to him, and that's why I executed it. I think that would be enough. But they're not doing that.
I also, just to jump in, I wanted to respond to one of the chats, Toby-Wan Kenobi, about there's no mechanism to overturn a pardon once granted, or there's no restriction on the use of auto pen. This isn't an issue of the auto pen or about revoking a pardon. It's about suggesting that the pardons were never valid. It's basically arguing it's no different than if somebody just forged the president's signature. That's what we're talking about. The auto pen is not really relevant.
This is an issue of revoking the pardons. Trump made
no, it's a question. No, it's not. It's a question of whether they were valid in the first place. It's not.
He wants, though. He wants them to not be valid, and because
right, but that's the argument to suggest that this would set a precedent. Right, but to suggest that this would be a precedent that can allow a president to revoke a pardon is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is we're questioning the validity of it. If the signature was forged, then these pardons are not valid. I don't think anybody would question that if we had evidence that the signatures were forged. So that's what the claim is. That's what this boils down to.
The person who did it.
That's the whole argument. That's the whole argument. And like I said, if your argument is that if you think your best argument is to shift the burden of proof back to me, that's not very good for your position.
I mean,
because it would be very easy to show that Biden was just even aware. Like I said, the bar that we've set, the bar that Abby set, is very low. We just need to know that he was aware.
No, you don't, though.
Or some of them, depending on, I don't know what pardons you think are void, but there are
I don't think you know.
There are pardons the Heritage Foundation claimed were signed by AutoPen, which turned out to not even be signed by AutoPen. So we do, there are pardons that we have evidence.
So we're now finding out that there was that there was an assumption that the Federal Register is reflecting AutoPen signatures, because when you overlay one signature over another, they're an exact match, and that indicates that it's AutoPen. But the Federal Register actually doesn't show you the signature. What they show is a digital document that has a digital signature attached. So if you were to look at all of Donald Trump's ones too, they all match as well, because people have been assuming that that the Federal Register actually shows you the real signature for the real document, and that's actually not the case. So now we've got to go back and find the physical pieces of paper. And even if something's auto-penned, there is a physical piece of paper, because again, it's not a digital imprint. It's a literal pen.
Yeah.
Similar to the one that Thomas Jefferson used when he did the stereographed signatures that he did back in his lifetime. And so that's what you have to go back and look and see if there's actual,
So, Rich, I don't think there's anybody disputing that. I guess, but once again, how does that take care of the problem that Pentemple's bringing up, which is the idea that there's no paper trail, there's no witnesses saying he signed this. It's sus, even if it is the physical machine and it's not.
This is why I said that this is unfair to Trump, right? Because just because Trump doesn't have a paper trail for every single auto pen he used in his first term, doesn't mean that we should be invalidating.
Trump is claiming all the stuff he did. There's a difference. We don't have it. You don't disagree.
But hold on. First, you said there has to be a paper trail.
He was on vacation. I think another piece of it, though, is that he was on vacation. That's why people are honing in on those specific pardons. I mean, I'm just giving you that perspective. A lot of people are honing in on those specific pardons because he was in the Virgin Islands, so they know he wasn't present. And we're not even saying hey, give us proof of that. It's hey, let's talk to the executive clerk and see who gave you permission to go and physically use the auto pen. Why did you execute that? Who gave you permission to execute that? Did it come from Joe Biden? Did it come from someone else? If it came from that person, subpoena that person. Who did it come from? Did it come from Joe Biden? That's what we're asking for. Even if Joe Biden was tomorrow, hey, I knew about this. I authorized this. I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying we need to generalize the objection, right? So this is how you can solve a lot of these issues, by taking the politics out of it, by simply saying, okay, let's go back and look at every single auto pen, since the beginning of the 21st century use of the auto pen, which was with Obama, although I've heard some people tell me that Bush did it too. But and go back and ask for the paper trail for each one of those. That's fine. I'm fine with that. So long as we apply it equally. That's all I'm saying.
When Obama was on vacation and used the auto pen on vacation, he did release a written public memo, and we're not even asking for written at this point in time, but he did release
that's required.
Literally, we've given you the lowest bar. You have to know you're screwed.
I think I agree. I agree, just because right now it seems really just people being upset because it's something Biden did that you can bitch about. Frankly, that's what it seems like. So I feel if we're not,
you guys scream about constitutional crisis left and right all the time. You don't think it's a crisis that somebody might have forged his signature on preemptive pardons?
We're not
willing.
Oh my God! Circumstance for us to actually be a little more skeptical about it.
Let Margaret go ahead.
You're not being skeptical at all. You're you have no proof. We have plenty of reason to believe that he didn't know about it.
Okay.
It would be like you have one clip of him on CNN.
Hold on.
Why he didn't
Brother.
know about
Hold on. Let
Y'all
Buckaroo
putting
talk.
words in my mouth.
Yeah. If we had evidence of that, if we had evidence of that.
We should assess.
All right, hold on. 1 second. All right, let Buckaroo talk, and then we're gonna go to Tyler. Go ahead.
All I said is that I agree. We should assess all.
Don't you agree with
four
me?
uses
Don't
of
you
the
fucking agree?
auto
I'm sorry.
pen. Shut the
Just kidding.
fuck up! Oh my god! All I said is that we should look at all uses of the auto pen if we are talking about a crisis of whether or not there's validity in the auto pen itself. We should look at all uses of the auto pen in the same way that if there's a constitutional crisis from Biden, then fucking look at it. I don't care. It's a constitutional crisis. I think it's fine to assess the validity of all of these different actions. But when you pick and choose whose presidential actions you actually have an issue with, it
we
comes
agree
across.
We do have that. I think we have a paper trail.
It comes across much less.
I see what you're saying.
About the actual action, and more about the president himself.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay.
So first,
I'll let you respond, but then I want to go to Tyler. Go ahead.
I don't think that it's an issue about the auto pen, but I do get your point that why are we challenging this use of the auto pen and not applying this to others? But with Obama and with Trump, we do have a paper trail of the authority being granted for the specific uses of the auto pen, as far as I'm aware. If we find other uses, that would also be in question. You can't use the auto pen without having some sort of authority or otherwise indicate the consent of the president to use his signature. When he signs it himself, that's inherent. You don't need any sort of additional indication of consent. The question is, when you use the auto pen, if you don't have that attached consent, the question's open. So you have to have something, anything that shows that he wanted this to happen, that he initiated it.
I agree that you've made an argument there isn't obvious consent. I'm not even pushing against that because you have to be able to, if you're signing it with your hand, obviously you're consented to do it. If there's a machine doing it, obviously there could be something else going on. I was even thinking what are ways we could make sure that it's obvious this was approved by the president himself? I understand.
Well, it should be a requirement. There should be a logical requirement. I would argue there is. I would argue that there inherently is a requirement.
Let's go to Tyler here, but I want to say one thing before we go to Tyler, and then it's real simple. One thing also into this, right, is the president's the most watched person on earth. We have audio logs for almost everything, right? Why can't they just go into the Biden Presidential Library Fund and go in there and break out some of these archive tapes of him issuing these auto pen orders? I'm sure somebody somewhere could do this, and nobody's offered to even do that, and that's kind of suspicious to me. But let's go to Tyler.
I can answer your question real quick for you first.
Sure.
Because he doesn't have to. Why doesn't Trump go ahead and provide a list of every single immigrant that was on those 5 planes that got deported instead of an overall manifest of just why they were on the plane, visa revoked or whatever? But he didn't have to, so he didn't do it. Why didn't Biden or Trump go answer Mueller's questions directly instead of provide him a written statement? Because he didn't fucking have to. So you're asking him to go way above and beyond just to alleviate your concerns. And that kind of goes into my first point where I wanted to talk to Pentuple about. The fishing expedition point here. How are you not Fannie Willis in this situation? Because there's no victim here. Nobody's claiming to be a victim. What this is a third-party allegation saying that Biden was the victim of forgery, but he's not even saying that.
What do you mean there's no victim? You're suggesting that there's nothing questionable about the potential that people went in, penned their own pardons, had that signed without the knowledge of the president? What do you mean?
That's what you're saying.
I don't think there's any evidence of that.
I'm not asking whether there's evidence of it. I'm saying if there was evidence of it, wouldn't that clearly be something we'd have issue with? We would all agree with that, right? If we know for a fact, hypothetically.
One at a time.
Okay, sure.
Hold on.
It's not that fucking ridiculous. Hypothetically.
I'm gonna mute people. All right.
It's not that ridiculous, but you're trying to dismiss it as a crazy premise. If this
Just can't.
Okay. No, nobody don't do it. I'm ready. Okay. Tyler, go ahead. Finish your thing.
Okay. Yeah, so that was the first point, is there's no victim in this certain particular case. So in a way, it's similar aligning to Fannie Willis in that predicament. And so, I don't see any legal mandate for Biden to have to show he endorsed these pardons. And I think it's already granted in his pardon power that he endorsed these pardons. And unless we have some reason to go and suspect otherwise, besides just guessing his mental state, which a lot of what you're saying is speculation. If there were proof, absolutely. Let's have oversight look over it. A compromise would be have the House Oversight Committee look over the whole situation and make sure it's all above board. Is that a good compromise?
Why are you acting like there wouldn't be an issue if people got pardons without the president
there would be.
consenting to it?
That would be.
Of course it would be.
People would
Okay,
do
one at a time.
Just because it's not like a monetary crime.
He's
I
innocent
don't even
until proven
understand.
guilty is the point.
All right, let's go to
Guilty is the point.
Okay, let's
Right.
go to Buckaroo.
I got
We're gonna go to Buckaroo then non-flying because I saw that there's hands up. All right, so go ahead, Buckaroo. Go ahead.
It just seems like right now these are like hypotheticals we're pulling out of our ass and saying, well, this could have happened. Like, bro, aliens could have come to the planet in the dark of the night and replaced our president with one of their own. Like, yeah, maybe that did happen. We should worry about the constitutionality of an alien president. Like,
It was Skrulls.
obviously, there are things that could have hypothetically happened that I would take issue with. But if there is no reason for us to assume that these things happened, nobody's coming out and complaining about it. Nobody has even a lick of evidence that any of this has occurred. It does sound like this is just shit you're pulling out of your ass.
All right, no,
Look, you're right, but look.
Wait.
While you're on
No,
vacation,
Abby, wait.
is
Hold on,
to
Abby.
release a memo.
All right, non-flying. Go ahead. I know you're going to want to
I
respond
was
to
gonna say
everything he
something
says
like
too.
pretty similar.
All right, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think anyone disagrees with you, Pentuple, that if these signatures were forged, that would be a problem, and that is already illegal, by the way, and they should be indicted and prosecuted. Like, I don't think anyone disagrees with you there, buddy. I don't know why you.
Wait,
keep
well, hold on.
saying-
I would object to that because I've been told, like, by people, like, okay, I'll use this example. Wick, for example, has told me. He goes, I voted for Biden, and I'm okay if he was mentally incapacitated with the people around him making those. Now, that is fucking terrifying to me as a conservative, and that's terrifying. We should have, if Reagan, for example, had Alzheimer's. I don't like the idea of wifey Reagan going and making decisions. I don't like the idea. I know Icon's going to be like, this happened, because it did happen. It's fucking terrifying.
It did happen.
And it's awful. And they
But
should
it
have
wasn't just that. It was that this argument that Wick is making, he stole from the Republicans because that was
Sure,
the
and they were
you guys,
wrong then,
you
too.
whippersnappers are too young for this. But it was Republicans throughout the 80s and even through the 90s, in retrospect, trying to say, yeah, but he was surrounded by good people.
And I'm saying they was
willing to
wrong.
vote for
Listen,
Reagan.
I'm not of that generation, so them fuckers were wrong. And I'm saying Republicans now are calling this out. And like I'm saying, if it was happening now with Trump, like at least I feel like Trump, the guy goes and brags about everything, right? So we know that he's behind whatever scheme, whether you think it's cockeyed or it's good, we know it came from his head, right? So like, do you not see the problem? You're not. What is your?
I mean, I explained a little bit earlier, but I mean, one.
He
there are
says
things that
2025 was not.
Go ahead, Lachlan.
There are things bureaucrats are entitled to do, and things bureaucrats aren't entitled to do. Obviously, I would have an issue with a bureaucrat unelected signing a pardon, which is not within their authority to do at all. And I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with a bureaucrat, doing something that is within their authority, especially if I'm okay with that policy, which I am mostly okay with Biden's policy.
I mean, listen, we can also say, look, let's meet in 6 months and find out what happened, because we have a government where the DOJ is like, a Trump loyalist is running the place. The majority of the Supreme Court was put there by the GOP, like 6 out of 9 even. Like the system is set up to where if in 6 months nothing came of this, then it won't be because of some like left-wing conspiracy. It'll be because conservative courts with a conservative DOJ and a conservative apparatus couldn't find anything.
I can agree.
So we
that
can
would be the
wait.
case.
We can say we'll just wait.
I can agree that if they can find something, it'll be prosecuted. I can give you that.
Yep.
And if they
Yep.
can't find anything, it won't be prosecuted. That's just common sense. That's just
Actually, if they can't find anything, it might be prosecuted anyway.
I guess
yeah.
so.
No,
Like,
I have another point though.
Go ahead.
Would you say, okay, so say hypothetically we had a high up senator or like the Speaker of the House or something like that had had a conversation with Biden about a specific bill and he couldn't remember even signing it. He was like, that's not what I signed. I don't think I signed that. That's not it. Wouldn't that at least be grounds to say, okay, let's at least look into it? Can we all at least agree to that?
No one's
Which
saying don't
could be
look into it.
investigated.
I think everyone agrees
Well,
look into
okay,
it.
so that's I want to.
We all agree Biden
unusual.
wasn't there, right? He wasn't 100%
No.
there at the very least.
So okay,
He
let's,
wasn't 100%
It's kind of proven at
there
this
at
point.
the very least.
let's go to Katya, and
I'm
then
not
I
going
would.
to say that he wasn't
The
there
unique
because of
circumstance.
that. Like, I think that because of that, like, I think the whole thing that Michael Johnson said is a bit like, okay, yeah, he didn't remember signing the exact bill. Okay, yeah, look into it. You can look into it, but I don't think that it's completely beyond the pale that somebody, even Biden or especially Biden, would not remember the specifics of something that they signed, considering that their lives are so busy. I forget things I did at work a day or two ago sometimes. And my boss goes, "Hey, did you do that?" I'm like, shit, I have to look through my email. And I don't have Alzheimer's. So if you, given his age, okay, and he's he's definitely a little bit diminished, right? That doesn't mean that he's incapacitated.
I get it, but I think it's more of the context, and he was adamant that it was something entirely different, right? He was adamant that, like, no, that's not what it does. It's only looking into it. It's only researching it. And they're like, no, it stopped it. And he's like, no, and it was that was the conversation. It was a convincing of, no, this is what you signed. And he thought he signed something looking into it, researching it, not actually doing what it did, which shows at the very least he was misinformed. So maybe we should look into who was misinforming our president.
I want to ask a different question too, and we can explore that. But what about, like, okay, so let's just say in this a crazy hypothetical scenario, y'all brought up the situation of just wait, right? I have the concern because we've already started talking about lawfare. Say that conservative people think that they're or whoever in Trump's administration decides, hey, we have enough evidence to push charges on people for fraud or elder abuse or whatever they want to defraud the American public, whatever they can come up with, right? Is somebody going to go, oh, hey, like, I feel like somebody's going to do this, surely. But, like, I feel like, is the left at all going to accept the results of that, or even as a trial, or are they just going to throw their arms up and yell witch hunt? Like, because I feel like that's almost guaranteed to happen at this point. They're just not going to accept the results of trial. Thoughts?
The courts are the courts. So if they do find something, I think it should be prosecuted. And I still believe, even though we have 6 out of the 9 parts of the Supreme Court justice are conservatives, the fact is conservatives have run the Supreme Court since Nixon. So I think we still need to accept what comes down from the courts. So. Yeah, I think the worst thing that Democrats could do at this point would be to not accept a court ruling. Or put it this way, if we ever get to a point where we can't accept our court rulings, then the American experiment's over. Like, we're back to having to have another revolution.
I agree with that.
If that were the case.
I agree with that.
So Gibbs, let me jump in on your question as well. So Joe Biden or any president that's mentally incapacitated, and we don't actually use the 25th Amendment to remove them from power, I think that's closer to a constitutional crisis, in my opinion anyways, than the president ignoring a temporary restraining order from a district judge. I really think that, like, the president's authority, the entire executive branch's authority, stems from him. Everyone else is his subordinate. They should not have control over the say. That is a big issue that people were really thrown under the rug. It was a big issue for Reagan, Kennedy, who was the FDR, and multiple others. I'm with you on that, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone has the authority to check Biden on his constitutional powers, and one of them is the pardon power, and I don't think anyone has the right to say how he can sign it unless there's clear evidence of forgery.
Yeah, or we invoke the 25th Amendment, which that's something that had to be addressed back there. So right now we have a situation where people are saying, oh, he's incapacitated, he was a vegetable, he's this, he didn't even know what he was signing. Back there, it's like, yeah, I understand, but, like, you had to address that back then if this was such a huge deal. And if you didn't address it back then,
why would you have to back then?
We were screaming about it then.
Well, yeah.
But that's the whole point. Everyone around him was protecting him, and that's the whole point. That's the point. There's a cover up involved in it. So that's why that makes this a unique circumstance. I would say this would be a unique circumstance. And just for a fun fact, the auto pin was used heavily, apparently, in Watergate. That was just something I found when I was doing a little bit of research, so we could talk about how it can be abused. It has been known to be abused. So it's not unprecedented for us to say, hey, maybe this is a case
Well,
of abuse and we should look into it.
I don't know that that's
auto
legally.
pen
Well,
abused or used for bad, or was it just
Well-
used for a purpose that was underlying bad? Like if he signed it instead of using the auto pen, would it still be, you know, for a negative purpose back then during Watergate? Because if that's the case, then whether or not it's
Well,
auto pen doesn't really matter.
I want to examine the other thing you
Yeah.
brought up. Hold on, with the point and that it had to be brought up back then. Why do you think that is the case? That it has to be brought up back then? Like, wouldn't it, if you have like, if you're okay, right? So it's almost like we're arguing about like investigating yourself, right? Whenever Exxon has an oil spill and they go and investigate themselves. So like you're saying, oh, that the Attorney General should have been investigating Biden's cognizency and his ability to do these things while he was also working for Biden. Does anybody actually expect that to be working? Isn't that why like Trump's going in there and doing this? Isn't that the argument? Wasn't that the same thing that the Biden did when Trump got out of office? Like I don't know how you can argue, oh, well, it had to be done then. Like that doesn't seem remotely the same.
Did, because basically, I mean, given that the pardon power is given to the president under the Constitution, right? And they have the power as long as they are in office and they have the power of the presidency. Now, there's a way to get rid of their power of the presidency if they are incapacitated, and that's through the 25th Amendment. And unless their power is stricken from them via the 25th Amendment, they still have it according to the Constitution, right? Like we can't put people in jail until they go through or in prison until they go through a trial or they plead guilty. Like we have to go through those steps before we get to that point, right? And we can't go back in time if they were not, removed of duty ahead of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it is the president's duty according to the Constitution to do pardons, or not duty, is his ability.
You agree with that, the double, as an attorney here?
Right. Yeah. The president. I didn't challenge the pardons. I always thought the pardons were good, but
So she's arguing. I was asking her why she's talking about the.
I was deafened. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. A bastard over here. You're screaming into the void.
You caught me. You said read the next
I
page
love
of the
how
book.
he gives you an answer anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's
You know what I'm
teacher told me to
saying?
read the next word.
We're gonna press these bastards when if you go on my channel and mute yourself, I'm gonna get your ass. All right. Listen, that's how it works. So what we're asking, I'm asking.
Is waiting to get in the call. By
Okay,
the way.
I'll move him in. So I'm asking why. Like basically, it matters that it was not prosecuted then versus prosecuted now. And Conti is arguing that it should have been prosecuted then versus now, and kind of thing. But
What do you mean then?
I can throw it in
Like immediately?
a quick argument too.
Biden had to be stricken of his powers by the 25th Amendment before the pardons for them to take effect.
What?
He was hypothetically not
it-
safe for office or
This
not
isn't-
fit.
Think of it this way: when you're firing
No.
somebody from your business, you have to like write them up a few times so you can have a record on the record of them fucking up.
This argument makes sense if you're trying to challenge whether Biden's actual signature is valid. But we're talking about whether he even actually signed it. You're suggesting like that we're arguing even if Biden signed it or like signed off on approving the auto pen that we would still be challenging it. But that's what I'm saying. We weren't challenging it until we had this idea that what if Biden didn't know about this? What if people literally pulled a fast one? And that's an open question.
We're
No, I
doing
was
this,
arguing
and you're going to
against
go
it.
along with it.
I was arguing against a point that people have made, some like at least one of whom is here, that Biden, because he quote unquote was at a diminished state, or I remember one thing being said in the chat of a vegetable,
Yeah.
that because of that, even if he did authorize it, that would not be kosher. And I said that's out the window because we would have had to address it with 25th Amendment back there before it could be considered.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, that's a claim to make that I'd challenge you to support. You might be right. You might be lucky, but I don't know about that. But I do think the point we're talking about here with the auto pen is not about the auto pen itself. We're talking about, like I said, I think the biggest point to hammer here, especially from our perspective, is that we're not challenging the auto pen. We're challenging what is essentially forgery. So like if we're right and Biden wasn't even aware that these were happening, somebody forged the president's signature. That doesn't say we're revoking these pardons. It means they were never valid in the first place. That's an important distinction. You're right. You're right. We would have to prove it, and that burden of proof is accomplished because when you have in court, you have self-authenticating evidence like signatures. When your signature, you signed it, that's self-authenticating. An auto pen can be challenged. That puts the burden of proof back on the person who has the auto pen. So now the investigation is whether you have evidence that this person had authority to use the auto pen. That's what the court's going to do. Well, that's why I'm saying if you guys can't provide any evidence of that, and you think the best argument legally is to just shift the burden of proof back to us, you're not in good shape. Like if we were in a mock trial, I'd be asking the professor for this side.
But hold on, let me do one thing.
Expeditions.
Let me get one thing.
No, it's not. No, because what you're saying about the 25th Amendment thing, this diminished capacity thing that we've said the Democrats have conceded to by removing him from, the only reason that's relevant is because it does suggest that it's possible he was unaware. It's just more evidence in favor of our argument that we could put to a jury. And if you set defer a jury down and you're going to go up to them and say, oh, they have no evidence that Joe Biden didn't know.
All right,
good luck.
So let's go to
good luck, dude.
But that means you're
going to ICAL. And then
people do in court all the time.
Yeah, good luck. If your best argument is they don't have any proof he didn't know, we're not going to provide a single piece of evidence that shows that he knew, but we're just going to say they can't prove he didn't know. Good luck with that argument, genuinely. Good luck.
All right, everybody stop. And you say jump, we're supposed to jump? Just because, like you say, you need to provide proof of this, you need to provide proof of that. The problem is...
If the court asks you for the burden of proof, then yes, you better provide something better than just dismissing the burden of proof.
Wait, what court asked for this? And like,
we're going in a hypothetical.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I count. You're gonna go now. Y'all are fired up. I like it. I like it. Very fired up tonight.
Yeah, no, that's good. Everyone's passionate. No, but I see. This is what I'm. So what Pentuple said is very helpful. I think he's right, and I think that means he agrees with me that if in 6 months or a year, whenever this thing is over, if nothing has been done, there's no prosecutions or any prosecutions have failed or whatever, and the courts have ruled against it. If any of those things happen, then we'll know. This would be a knowable thing. This isn't something that we can disagree on, like on into forever.
Prosecutions of who specifically?
We have a conservative DOJ, we have a conservative court system, we have all of that. So if what Pentuple is saying is right, that just saying, oh, the burden of proof shifts won't work in the courts. If he's right that that's the case, then we will have these things reversed in the future. That's a knowable thing. I think it's rare in these debate panels when we have a prediction such as Pentuple made that's falsifiable, that we can come back in 6 months to a year and say, he was definitely wrong about this thing because this didn't happen. But this is one of those instances where I think he's offering us some falsifiability, which I think will be useful eventually.
Let me throw this out here since we got.
When you say prosecutions, just to get some clarity on that?
Sure, but I want to get.
Sorry, my bad. I just want to get clarification. When you say prosecution, are you talking about like, if we don't prosecute anybody for like the forgery, or if we're saying the people that got pardons get prosecuted and we don't deal with it there or whatever? Because like, I'm definitely right if we end up prosecuting someone, say like Adam Schiff, and we successfully prosecute them.
I think Abrams was right when she said, if there's something there, it will definitely be prosecuted.
You're right. I mean, it's very possible nothing happens. And this is all stuff. Biden's team right now, I'm sure, is searching for some sort of evidence that he was aware, initiated, or had a memo or something like that.
But also,
it just seems like one's got a way stronger argument based on the evidence that's out there right now.
My larger argument is that we should take whatever it is that we decide to do and make this a precedent going forward so that it applies to all.
That's fine.
I agree. I think that the auto pen inherently requires additional authority to be used, and I think that's inherent. I think if we have to establish that in the same way that the Democrats felt we had to establish the whole symbolicism of January 6th signing, then we have to do that. But it should already be something that we've already understand is required of the auto pen.
I want to move this a little bit. Hold on.
The point is that the auto pen is
always needed to be required, but now in modern day and age may need to be required, right? It may not have always been historically necessary as people couldn't travel as often, but it may be necessary now, and we should use this as a precedent if it goes forward.
To have a signature for a pardon?
Let me just hold on.
When the auto pen is used,
so hold on.
You have to have authority with it.
I want to move this a little bit. Let me just move this a little bit because we've got like 13 minutes on this topic. Now let's switch to the other topic. Now that Ali is here, Ali, are you here? All right, well he'll be here. Okay. Anyway, so I'll move this a little bit. Let's just say worst case scenario, right? It ends up the Republicans are right. They decide they're going to go take it to trial, and there's charges pressed, people are charged, people are convicted. Let's just say, what does that mean? What are the ramifications for this other than convictions for people? Does this mean legally that the pardons are invalid? Does this mean all the executive acts are undone? Like how much of the Biden administration is undone by this, and like what does that look like for America legally? What are we thinking? What are our thoughts on that?
Well, voiding a executive order would be probably no different than him just revoking it himself. I mean, in practice, the pardons are a little different because since these were preemptive pardons, now the question is whether they can be investigated. Say someone they open an investigation into Adam Schiff, does that get shut down immediately? Those are the kind of questions I guess that they can challenge with the whole pardon thing. But ultimately, I think the question will probably arise after a prosecution begins for one of these people who are supposedly pardons, and then they will argue that they have a valid pardon. And that will become I mean, that could go all the way up to the Supreme Court, I guess. But I also, at the same time, do think that the legal argument is very strong that an auto pen is not self-authenticating in the same way that a signature is. And it requires some sort of additional authority for someone to use the president's auto pen. When you're granted the auto pen, it's not like the authority comes with that pen. You can use it for whatever you deem necessary. The president can't say the chief of staff has the auto pen. He can do whatever I'm granting him the right to do it. You are granting very specific approvals to use the pen for your physical signature, because the president's signature means nothing if it doesn't mean literally the consent of the president. Not the chief of staff, nobody else, the president.
I guess what I'm asking is though, because I mean, I get that the pardons are like one of the big ones, right? I guess that invalidates them. I guess that would open them up to prosecution. Like that would be legal theory. My bigger question, I guess, is because some of the executive orders have been alleged to be auto pen. Are we undoing like massive acts of executive orders? Is that what's going to happen then?
I would imagine most of those have already been undone by Trump.
Right, like
yeah, you've already been able to do it. Why would have you just already done it?
On day one, he was probably like, bye.
He did.
On day one.
I've been reading through them. He revoked hundreds of
yeah.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he said he was going to do that. Like, I'm getting rid of all of them from day one. So presidents revoke each other's executive orders all the time. Every new administration does.
Can I jump?
That's not exactly what I meant, but okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
I'm really trying to make this argument the whole night. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So, what you keep arguing is the burden of proof is on us. In a sense, you're right. Where it's not self-authenticating in itself, there is some argument there, but we also have the president, who we can just ask, or his staffers, or witnesses, or other people.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah, that's the point we've been making, Tyler.
There are, by the way, the person who came forward to the New York Post and said that that he took.
You're explaining how you're going to meet the burden of proof. Yes.
Yeah,
right, but
there were other staffers who refuted that.
No, we don't. We'd say it was auto pen. Was it auto pen? Was it the president's wedding signature? Or was it auto pen? If it was auto pen, then now you need to provide authority that granted the use for that auto pen. That's a whole.
Let me pause. Let me pause, everybody. Let me pause.
Make a point.
Hold on.
Please let me.
Well, technically, yes.
Everybody can make a point. Hold on.
Yes.
Pause.
Let me make a fucking sentence.
You can make a sentence, and then I want to have Ali come in here and introduce himself since he was late. But go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, man, you guys are yelling over me tonight. So I'm looking at the rules. Of the rules that were made. First, we have an OLC legal opinion from 2005, George Bush, saying that the president is fine to make these signatures without a paper trail. That's perfectly fine. All he has to do is verbally approve it. So there's no requirement for Biden to keep a paper trail in the first place.
But hold on, that's not true. Hold on, Tyler.
We set the bar low enough.
Hold on, Tyler. That's actually not true, because there is a paper trail left.
Beat the fuck out of you, Tyler.
There is a paper trail left, and it's the transcriptions of the audio logs of the Oval Office and all the other places the president's at. So there is transcribed physical paper copies that people can look up for this kind of thing. So even your argument there is out the window. So let's go to I know we didn't even answer that. Let's go to sociologic here real quick. I mean, I was real unbiased moderating what I just did there. That's what we do. Real fair, biased moderating. Like anyway, well, at least we admit when we're on that. At least we admit when we're on that bullshit here. Go ahead, sociologist. Tell us who you are, what you do, and give us your auto bit thoughts real fast, since we're about to switch topics.
Ooh, all right. I go by Sociologic, 2 L's. I join people's streams and yell at them, and then they yell at me, and we call each other idiots. It's pretty fun. Auto pen, real quick. I mean, personally, I didn't know we could auto sign things at all. I don't think any president should have auto sign at all. I don't know if that was a point that was brought up, but if we do, yeah, you should be able to check if the person authorized that auto pen usage.
We can talk about that.
That's my input so far. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
input so far.
let's talk about that. That's a good thing. He brings up a good point. Should we allow auto pen at all? Who thinks we should? Okay.
Sorry, I
What
like
was
the
the question?
Constitution.
What was the question?
Who thinks we should allow auto pen at all?
Tyler's in character tonight.
The Constitution.
Is like
I'm gonna beat the fucking
200
shit out of Tyler.
In GTA.
If you're
In
signing
GTA. Anyway.
I'm just kidding.
You're signing
I love
like
you, Tyler.
All right, hold on.
That
Hold on.
grand old Constitution, just American Sharia, baby. Woo!
What was the question just now, Gibbs?
Who is in favor of auto pen being used at all? Like, I mean, not legally, just are we fans of it as a
Oh, I think AutoPen's fine. I have no issues with AutoPen.
So nobody's really pissed about it.
Ollie cooked as soon as he got here. He nailed the point. It's literally just, did you have authority to use it? It's about like forgery. This isn't about like the process of the AutoPen, like using the automatic signature.
But you're
It's
not
just-
going to
it's
trust the
simple.
authority because it's. But here's the thing: we're not going to trust the authority right now because it's Biden, and everyone was like, "Well, was he even mentally coherent enough? They could just convince him to be mentally
Right.
coherent enough right now."
But here's the thing: we have such a great argument when you guys removed him in the general election. Like you guys conceded that. You guys conceded that so strongly.
Well, who's you guys?
25th Amendment.
You didn't 25th Amendment him, but you might as well have, as far as the nomination was concerned.
All right, so we're okay. That's fine.
In spirit, you're 25th.
All right,
that
all right.
motherfucker.
Moving
Like,
on.
let's
Let's
go.
pause. All right, let's pause this one. Moving on. We got.
What is an election?
We're circling.
What is an election?
Hold on. We're
Something
just.
you want to win that has to do with popularity, right? And it has to do with how people think that a person's fit to lead for the
Okay,
next
how do
meeting.
you typically? All right, let me ask you petty questions. How do you typically get a general election candidacy? Do you typically have to win the primaries? Typically, right? How does that usually work? Yeah, how does that usually work, Katya? How does that usually work, Katya?
Okay, hold on. All right, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this debate today. We can
It's
debate
like
that.
50-50.
You know,
Bernie didn't get either, right? The
yeah.
Democrats don't really care about who wins a primary.
Listen, we can debate that a different day. All right, let's move on. Let's move on here. Let's move on here. Okay.
Trump didn't
Okay.
win primaries in 2020.
God damn it. All right, I'm gonna mute everybody.
Uh,
All right. Damn, y'all are real fired up today. Okay. Yeah, so we're moving on. Now that we have everybody, let's move on to the next one because it seems like we're circling the drain a little bit now. I think everybody's kind of talked out this one, and we've gone down some rabbit holes. So let's talk about why only working 40 hours a week makes you a lazy piece of shit. Just to start us off, Sociologic, why don't you go ahead and give us this perspective?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I've worked many jobs. Okay. I've tried. I ask and go, hey, can I work more hours? And they go, yeah, we don't really do the overtime thing. So, all right, so you're giving 40 hours a week here, and then you go somewhere else and you want them to apply. Well, the times that they want you to work kind of conflict with the times that you're working already at the other place, right? And then it's a ridiculous statement that people are lazy. And then on top of that, listen, I've submitted at least 150 applications this week over the course of 2 weeks, 150 applications. When fucking Instacart and Amazon delivery jobs are denying people for a lack of experience, there's just too many ghost jobs out there. Like there isn't even enough jobs for these people to work more than 60 hours a week or 40 hours a week. So I mean, once jobs start giving more hours, let people work them. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to work overtime. They ain't getting it though.
All right, let's go to Premier Cocktail.
I'm gonna say that if you work 40 hours, that should be good enough to, generally be considered you worked enough. With advancements in productivity, I'd argue for certain jobs, 32 hours could be sufficient. I mean, I'm not answering like for myself personally, because I am, partially disabled and I've been since I was 16. So I'm going to say it's up to you. Some people want to work more. Some people want to get the money. Some people have the time in their schedule. Good for them. They should be able to if they're in a situation where they can't. A lot of jobs don't even allow you to. But I think that how much somebody works should be totally up to them and their lifestyle and what they're able to afford. I think people should be responsible with money more than they are now, but that's just me.
All right. Thank you so much. Buckaroo.
I agree with Katya on the work aspect of it. I also think there are some jobs that are going to be a lot easier to work for, like 40, 50, 60 hours a week than others. I used to load trucks at UPS. If I had to be there 40 hours a week, every day of the year, I would have fucking died. I think it would have been like the worst. I remember I remember when we were doing our long shifts over peak season, that shit is grueling. There are a lot of jobs that are just like so extremely physically demanding. And, that's a part of why they are part-time jobs. So, um, I think you should be able to survive on 40 hours a week. I don't think everybody's lazy just because they don't want to work more. And different jobs have different labor.
All right. Thank you so much. iCal Rich.
And I'll be right back.
Yeah, let me, sorry, I was doing something else. Yeah, my initial thought on this is that if we're going to apply this to one group of people, we should apply it to all groups of people. And there are plenty of people, the Paris Hiltons of the world, for instance, who definitely aren't being held to the work 60 hours a week standard, whether you want to or not. Now, if what we're saying is that she also doesn't deserve her fabulous riches because she hasn't done anything to earn it, then maybe we can rework how the tax system works at those levels.
Non-block.
Yeah, I don't think I would consider someone working 40 hours a week necessarily lazy. It might not show. I mean, I don't think you're the most ambitious person ever, but I think that's fine. I think it's up to the individual how much they should work, and I also think involuntary unemployment is clearly a thing that exists, and it's not always possible for people to get jobs or get overtime when they have jobs.
Thank you so much, Abby.
Yeah, I think we're actually all pretty much in agreement here. I think how many hours you work should be up to you. I wouldn't say 40 hours is lazy per se. I personally choose to work more than that, but that's a personal choice to sustain my lifestyle and what I've chosen, and I think everyone's responsible for their own choices. So if you want to work more than 40, work more than 40, go get your bag. And if you don't, you don't. I also don't think society should be required to pay for you though, if your lifestyle can't, if you're living a lifestyle not supported by your work ethic.
All right, Tyler.
All right. So again, I think generally we're all in compliance that there is a section of people that don't work 40 plus hours that are doing so for good things like investment in their future and education and things like that. I don't think we're talking about those people here. We all get that they exist, so let's just remove them from the equation. I also want to say that the current average work time of somebody is 34.3 hours in the United States, so we're not really overworked here. I don't want you guys to think just because I'm giving all these caveats that I like poor people. I think that poor people are disgusting, and after the age of 35, you should be cut off of all social programs because you're no longer a young person that lacks skills just getting into the job market and blah, blah, blah. You're a waste of goddamn space. Also burn the homeless.
All right. Yeah. So interesting. So y'all all agree. Is that what y'all are saying? All. Pen. What did you say?
I gotta go.
Like we
I
all
all side with Tyler.
Pentuple.
Speak. Y'all skipped me.
Oh, Pentuple. Yeah, go ahead.
That's for last.
All
That's
right.
for last.
So I disagree with Gibbs. I don't think you're a lazy piece of shit if you work 40 hours, but I also think you shouldn't expect that you're going to get ahead of the rest of the pack at 40 hours. But I will say, I think 40 hours is a good, safe amount of, like a respectable amount of time to work. The rest of your time, you get to decide whether you want to pursue like more income jobs or art, passions, other things. I have no problem with that. I think a lot of people who work 40 hours, hey, shout out to Big Papa. I used to pack the boxes at Costco, so let's go.
There we go.
Yeah, so like, I mean, it's all depends on the job and stuff like that. But I will say, like, generally, if you're working 40 hours a week and you think you're going to get ahead of the rest of the pack, you're definitely not. So like, whether you're lazy or not gives from the perspective of somebody who's putting in 60 hours a week and getting that much farther ahead than the rest, for sure. But at the same time, you're sacrificing your time to chase, more passion pursuits, I guess, or things that aren't income driven. But that's what everyone's got the right to do. I kind of agree with Katya. I think 40 hours of work is a general, like, ideal. It's ideal that is enough for a person to survive so that they can live the rest of their time how they want. It's not something I think you can like legislate and require, but generally, like, that's a goal, a target for us. Like, if you're working 40 hours, I actually would argue, generally speaking, I think even 40 hours at minimum wage, local minimum wage, all right, is generally like you can survive. You know what I mean? So like,
fantastic. All right, so
it depends where you are, but that's what I would say.
Oh, good. So I thought this might happen. So I actually came prepared today to have the 1v8, and I think I'm pretty quickly going to have some of the conservatives on my side. And I brought my friend here, this is our new thing.
a whiteboard?
This is a whiteboard. And I'm not like the
Screenshot the
Yeah, I know.
motherfucker.
Yeah, put it in here. We're going to put some good stuff in here. Y'all can treat me like the Democrats at the thing. But what the reason why we have this whiteboard is because Professor Gibbs is here to teach y'all about microeconomics. And I'm really excited to do this today. All right, so what is the average American making right now? About 14 an hour? Well, fuck that. We're going to go less than that. And we're going to say they're making about 12 an hour. Cool. All right, I don't know if you can see this. Doesn't matter. Well, you're going to see it. All right, cool. Now, we're going to times this by 60. All right, what does that equal? Well, don't worry, folks. I'm going to tell you. It's right here. It equals 720. All right. Cool. Y'all see this so far? Well, we understand. All right, 720 a week. That's you say. Well, as a single man, $720. That's
Take
a lot
out
of
the
fucking
taxes.
shit. Don't worry. We're gonna get we're gonna get the taxes in a minute. Don't you fucking worry about that. All right. Then let's just take this number here. Listen. Let's just go here. And well, Texas is doing $14 an hour at McDonald's, so I don't want to hear about all these things. So let's just take this and times this by 52. All right. Cool. All right. Y'all see this? Okay, cool. So we're going to go backwards this way this time. All right. What do you think that 52 times 720 is? Oh, don't worry. Y'all don't have to do the math. I already did it for you. It's 37,440. All right. Now, as a single man living 37,000, that's 37,500 basically that you're getting every year as a single man. That's not exactly the Ritz.
Before taxes.
Before. Oh, hey, thank you. We're gonna get back to that. Hold on. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're gonna get to the taxes. Don't worry. Don't worry. Hold on. Once again, we're going to get to all that. Don't you worry. I have answers for all your goddamn questions. We're going to learn y'all about y'all being lazy bastards today. So here's the thing. This 40, the reason why I'm doing it at $12 an hour means you have two $12 an hour jobs. You're working at Mickey D's. You're working at Burger King. And just like all the illegal aliens I know. So I know that y'all aren't too uppity to say you're better than any migrants. No. Shh. I don't want to hear about how y'all better than no migrants. All right. So listen, unless y'all are pro-slave area, we're going to have to talk about $12 an hour. All right, cool. So we got these people, and y'all keep bitching about taxes. Well, you know what? I agree with it. If I worked 60 hours a week only to make $37,500, I'd be real fucking pissed when the old tax man came around and he wanted to take my tax dollars and give it to Bob Saget over here. Hey, this is Bob. He's living in this nice house right here. Cool. That's his house, and he's smoking meth. This is the meth pipe. Look, he's smoking the meth pipe. He's smoking the meth pipe right here in front of his house, and y'all going, we're gonna take $500 out of your paycheck, and we're gonna go give it to this guy. Like, now I would be real pissed if I was making 60 hours a week and y'all decided to go give it Bob, and then y'all go, what's for good of society. Now you'll tell me why y'all should take my tax out. Yeah,
I don't know what just happened, but I'm sold. I'm on Gibbs' side. I'm beefing with the panel. You guys are all wrong.
For anyone
I'm sold.
under 150,000, I agree.
Yeah, we use, and listen, and not only that, I want y'all to notice,
anyone less than 150,000.
and I want you, and that's what Trump is. I want y'all to also notice that I use the leftist Common Core math principles to try to teach the leftists about why they don't understand economics. Because every time I come on one of these panels, it's somebody that doesn't. Hold on, it's somebody, and every time I want you to notice something. Every time I come on one of these panels, I just want to go. I know, because sometimes you have to speak to others. Every time I come on one of these panels and we talk about this, I get told by a guy with $0 in his pocketbook about how microeconomics works. And I want someone to tell me that's got money in their pocket how microeconomics works. Because all the math is working. I'll tell you what I do know. Cool. Let me tell you one thing I do know. And Foghorn Leghorn taught me this one. 1/2 nothing, all right, is a whole nothing. And so 2 nothings. Wow. 2 nothings. Yeah, 2 zeros. Yeah, all that good jazz. That equals nothing. It equals nothing. No, you know what I'm saying?
But no job's gonna give you 60 hours a week.
You are literally Hank Hill, bro.
What? So why can't you go work McDonald's and Burger King for 60 hours a week?
Yeah, I will say
so base.
I've worked where
That's probably a conflict of interest or something.
You guys are all lazy. All of you.
Okay, so we're the wing stop at McDonald's right there.
Conflict of interest.
All lazy. Horrible.
But honestly, that's how corporations roll.
for the majority of these like menial labor jobs, yeah, you have to sign like a non-compete. You can't be working at like
Correct.
Walmart and then like the local.
So you
like,
can work at Walmart and you can
That's
work at
not true.
McDonald's. You can work at Walmart and
That
McDonald's.
is
If you're working,
No, that's
absolutely
not
true.
true.
If you're working at Burger King,
Yes.
you definitely cannot work at McDonald's.
You can
They're
definitely work
That
at
is not
Wingstop, though.
If
You
you're
can absolutely work at
food
Wingstop.
joints, if you're
There's
working at
definitely
two
will
fast
not
food
allow
joints,
true.
maybe, but I quite literally worked
I'm
at
a massage
UPS
therapist. I've
and
had to
Taco
sign
Bell at the same
non-compete.
time as
They're
did
not
like
valid.
two of my coworkers.
They're not
do that.
valid.
Hey,
That's
it's,
not
just so
valid.
y'all know,
That's
when
not competing.
The average
not
American
true.
that's working at McDonald's doesn't know what is and isn't valid. You
There's
are a
no
lawyer.
way you're signing an NDA to work at a
signing
non-compete.
non-compete.
A non-compete.
Non-compete.
You are not
Yes.
signing a non-compete to work at fucking Wendy's.
I would argue that like 90%
it's
of
not
You aren't for a lot of those
corporations have a
places.
non-compete clause.
you
when
seen,
they
like,
You
hire
can't
someone.
even
It's
enforce a
in the
non-compete
Alright, let's go.
for a
employee
fast
handbook.
food
Alright.
job.
The contract
Stop, one at a time.
Just
One at a
because
time.
I
What?
know
Before Lena
about
Khan was
this,
trying to ban that shit,
I
and then you
may
got
or
rid of
may
her.
not work for a large corporation, so
Alright,
I
so
know some shit about this.
so that's fine.
It's
Okay.
in the employee handbook.
Yeah, so I mean, there are non-compete clauses, but listen, there's no reason why you can't do what I did in college. I worked 40 hours a week at Wingstop, and I worked another 20 to 30 hours at fucking Fast Eddie's, and like I would walk from one bar, and I'd walk to the next place, and then I'd wake up in the morning to go to wrestling practice. So like, what is your
I got a lot
excuse?
of free drinks at Fast Eddie's. We love going to Fast
Yeah.
Eddie's.
What is the excuse?
If you're gonna go work at most fast food establishments, if you're gonna work at any local pizzerias or whatever it may be, I can guarantee you every single one of them is gonna guarantee that you work weekends because they're gonna be
Cool.
busy hours. No one is gonna hire you Monday through Thursday so you can go take another job somewhere else. They're gonna mandate that
Why would
no
they
one's
do
gonna
that?
take you.
You know who will though? Retail. If you live in
Retail
a
will do
place,
that.
just a shout out to anyone that needs it. People often look over
So-
retail, but a lot of retail places are now paying a minimum of $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So please look into retail. They need part-time people all the time, and especially during the middle of the week because they want their best salespeople on the weekend, and they have all their days off during the middle of the week. So if you need a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, please look into retail. They need you.
Let's go to Katya, then Buckaroo.
Okay, also.
And then
real
not
quick,
okay.
Went to the weekend.
They-
Alright, we're Katya, Buckaroo, not fun, right?
Right, a lot of time they can't enforce and they don't have like actual like legal document non-competes for fast food restaurants. But there's a thing called de facto non-competes, like basically where jobs do like random scheduling week to week and make it extremely hard for people to kind of square that circle of having two jobs together. Like both jobs will schedule you at the same time, refuse to do that. Refuse to work with you, refuse to let you switch to somebody, and then because you can't do that, right? Then you get fired because you're going to be like no showing to one job because
Do you think that these jobs are just like trying to like lose their employees? Like that's like I
No,
hear
they're
this.
trying to
No,
retain
no. Oh, hold on. I hear that. Hold on. Hold on. I hear this argument a
I was
lot.
literally scheduled. I was literally working at Taco Bell and UPS the same time for a year. I think I had my jobs overlap once. This is something that a lot of people working in part-time jobs, in labor jobs, in fast food places. There are a lot of places where people have two jobs or they work over full time 100% of the time. I agree that sometimes there are scheduling issues, but even in that case, there are a lot of places in most cities that you can find managers who are understanding and do try to help keep a consistent schedule, because not only does a consistent schedule help you, because it helps you get to work on time, but it helps them. It's
How
so
many
much easier to
applicants do these
copy and
people get
paste
a
the whole
day?
fucking schedule.
How many applicants do you think these people get a day?
It depends on the place. The Taco Bell that I worked at didn't get that many applicants.
Yeah, but
every day,
it's-
I don't know when it was.
Even then, it costs more in time and money
Facts.
to train a new employee
100%,
than it
I
does to
agree.
retain the same employee. So, there are so many times, like, I agree, yes, it's hard to work two jobs, but like there are a lot of places that do work with their employees. They like keeping their employees.
Interesting.
But you
That's
have
a
to-
lot of
you
my
have to
arguments
get
right
the
there.
job and but you have to get the second
And
job,
that's
and
why
when you're
I
up
brought
against
over
a bunch of applicants and
apron.
they're demanding X amount of hours, right? Or they're demanding certain days from you, which your other job competes with. Yeah, when you're up against a bunch of other candidates who have open availability, you're not likely to get the second job. Why would they
I
take you
agree,
and go
but
through
when
the
we're talking
exhausting?
about
Hold
fast
on.
food, there, I just like in my experience, I was not up against like a shit ton of candidates at the local Taco Bell. Like I don't know
Okay, what was the
like what the
unemployment rate
applicant
for remote
business
work?
is at all the
It's
other
probably
fast food joints in your area, but there are like
just depends.
there are so many fast food joints in my area. Most of them do not have an endless
I mean,
stream of
Instacart is
applicants. In
unavailable in my
fact,
area.
a
Like
lot of
there aren't Instacart
Instacart
positions.
is not the same as a fast food
Amazon?
place.
Amazon?
Again, okay, doing gig work for companies is not the same as being an official employee of the company.
Welcome to the
And if you're
Republican
looking at
Party.
literally
No,
the biggest, one of the
1099.
biggest companies, with
you're
one
an
of the most
employee.
prolific gig jobs, with one of the most prolific contract jobs, then obviously you're going to have tons of applicants. But the Taco Bell, fuck no, they didn't have that many applicants. Like the local actually the McDonald's probably did, but Burger King, bro, nobody wants to work at Jack in the Box. That's why they'll hire you, okay?
But the other places
And I just
also
have
aren't
to
hiring,
say,
so they're forced to work at Jack in the Box. Like you're kind of like forgetting
Wait,
that like
hold on.
no one, and there's a lot of people not getting these
But a
jobs and
lot of them-
resorting to these other minimum wage jobs.
Well, and a
It's,
lot of
you mean
people
the
are
jobs
also
that I
pigeonholing
fucking worked
themselves
at?
into.
Yeah, I totally
no.
understand what you're talking about. It was the exact kind
wait,
of job that
I
I
work
had.
these jobs too.
when
I don't get
I
why
was at
you're all
Taco
like
Bell.
high and mighty about this.
I'm not high and
Yeah.
mighty. You're just trying to tell me about the jobs that people were working at Taco
No, I'm
Bell
trying to
and
tell
at
you
Jack in the
that your
Box.
experience isn't universal. There's a different
I
experience for a
already
lot
said
of
my
people.
experience wasn't universal.
Yeah, but
I
hold on.
said
I
that when
like,
you're
but the
saying
Ali.
people, when you're
So-
saying people are signing non-competes,
Oh my
that's
God, I was
probably
being
wrong.
facetious. Obviously, you're not signing a non-compete at Burger King, but I'm saying the likelihood that you're able to work 32 hours at Burger King and 33 hours at McDonald's is not.
Well, hold
that's
on.
not going to happen.
So here's
They're
what-
not gonna let you do.
I think
it.
it's
Hold
important to
on.
say-
That's interesting you say that. Hold on. I'm gonna examine that. Like this is an argument that keeps getting
Yeah,
made,
there-
and it's factually untrue,
hours
right?
you work
Because
for.
one of the reasons why it's factually untrue is because many of these places, like I'll use Wingstop specifically, are franchised out, much like McDonald's. They're franchised out. So it doesn't behoove these franchise owners because most of the time they own multiple kinds of franchises and they'll try to get workers that are consistent at one job, like at their McDonald's or the Wingstop, to suddenly pick up the second job at their other place that they're paying them $12 an hour. So if you're a manager at the Wingstop, you might also be a manager or at the McDonald's as like an assistant manager or something, and you're going to work for the two franchises. And this is like common practice across the industry for franchise owners because franchise owners usually once you own one franchise, you do and they're like a significant portion of the market. So what you're telling me is that you either A, don't know the industry standard, or B, are purposely lying.
I think that a lot of us, what we're talking about is specific jobs that are not at franchises. One major thing
Corporation.
that a lot of people that I
they're-
know have trouble. They're not paid. They're not paid enough to just work there, but they have really big trouble having a second job while also working there. Is Publix. People get like different schedules, and because that's like corporate, like there's not franchises of that. And like that's one example of a job where people have
Okay, let me give you an
my
example.
other problem is when we have 30, like when you keep adding, oh, we have one job here and one job there. A lot of these one job here, one job there are like 15, 20 hours because that's all they'll give you. It's not 32. And when we get up to 30, 25 hours, 30 hours, the amount of hours you have left for your second job diminishes to the point that you need a specific schedule every week to be able to continue to work these two jobs.
We're talking
So
about like
it's-
low-skilled jobs.
So we're gonna go to
They're not gonna bid to your demands.
No,
Like,
so-
why would they?
No,
want
that's
to
not.
Well, again,
Well, we're gonna go to non-fun, but I want to give you a
not-
scenario. Like, here's another scenario, right? So, legal aids, they get paid nothing. You need no experience for your legal aid, right? They're almost guaranteed to work a 9 to 5. You're working 9 to 5 every week. Right? So if you get a job like that, that's a standard job. You work 9 to 5 every week. You basically hit 40 hours. They might have benefits. They might not. You might hit like 38 hours or something. But then you turn right around. You have something like that. Why is there no reason you then can't go tell a bar I can work nights, or hey, I can work nights at Whataburger or McDonald's? Like, there's no reason when there's separate industries. You're just making excuses at this point. And I shouldn't have to have my tax dollars go pay support welfare for someone that's working, not willing to work 40 to 60 hours a week. That's ridiculous. When I'm doing it myself.
Why is it
if
like?
you're working 40 and you're still on welfare, then maybe your employer should be taxed more
Yeah.
because they're literally passing the burden from them
Onto
onto the
you.
government to care for their
Yeah.
employees that they're
While
extracting
also
labor
not
from.
paying
That's
taxes.
Wait. No, the
outrageous.
market determines the value of the
I do
pay.
agree with that.
Go ahead, not fun.
Wait, okay, real quick before we hop on this. One, there are plenty of cases of like fast food jobs requiring non-competes. That's why Lena Khan tried to ban them. You guys should have kept Lena Khan. Don't know why you anti-establishment folks didn't like her. Also, secondly, just we glossed way past this. But Gibbs, on the tax point, if you are in the bottom 4 quintiles in the American of American income earners, you don't pay federal taxes. You are a net receiver. You receive no benefits
awful,
and you pay
terrible.
taxes. What do you mean terrible? Your point was like, oh, you know, if you're, I'm gonna be
Because if you work overtime,
you're
you're
they
fucked.
try to tax me. It's like you're the one getting the benefits if you're making minimum wage. Like,
No, that's why I
I
use
understand you
overtime
don't like the
wage.
benefits either, but it's just
Yeah, the benefits are awful.
Yeah, well, you want
Which
the,
is why
yeah,
people under 150,000 just shouldn't pay taxes.
Yeah, are y'all all fans of that?
would
They're all net
fucking
receivers
destroy-
anyway.
No,
No, why are you not a fan of
okay,
that?
well,
We'll go to non-fun, then I
they
can.
already,
Go ahead. No,
yeah,
go ahead,
I
not
don't
fine.
know what, I don't know what exact income percent or what the exact income you have to be in order to be a net taxpayer, but I mean, like, there is some redistribution, you know, from the middle class, like, to the middle class. Like, getting not taxing people making under $150,000 would get rid of a lot of that, and that would not be ideal. I don't think.
10%. The people that make 150,000 or less is 10%.
I
10%
count.
of the national taxes.
Yeah, I just want to point out something really quick. Gibbs has a PhD in theology. He knows this better than I do. Proverbs 23:4: "Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist." Now, why does Proverbs give us that advice? It's because when you work a job, you're not just taking in money, right? You're also acquiring wealth. You're also making an investment in yourself. And if you're spending all your spare time at some second job, that's going to distract from everything that you can learn and from that you can improve on in your first 40 hours. If you're well rested when you go to work every day, you're going to be a better performer and you're going to have more opportunities to learn. Maybe you can even spend some of that extra hours like going to school or something like that. But if all of your waking days are toiling to acquire wealth, then you're not going to be able to improve your position. But if you don't like Proverbs, maybe you'll like Psalms 127:2. It is vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for God gives to his beloved sleep. So sleep is a gift given to you by God. You shouldn't throw that back in God's face. You should.
I have a response to that, and that is Gibbs 317 says, "Work harder, you lazy bitch," and Austin 316 says, "I just whooped your ass." So I mean, like, I don't know.
When you say work hard,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Austin, hey, listen. I don't.
when you say work
If Stone
harder,
Cold is a false prophet, I don't know if I believe it.
what's going to incentivize someone to work 70 hours a week and then not like feel any benefit of it outside of
It's
having a
called
paycheck, but have no
money.
use
Your
of that
job should
paycheck
be an
at that
investment
point.
in your future. It shouldn't
And
just
not-
be an
It's
It's
exchange.
called money.
It should
Like,
be fulfilling.
imagine-
It
But
should
the
bring
money
you
isn't
some
worth
sense
it.
of
You're not
purpose
doing
and
anything with the
fulfillment.
money. You're at work all the time, and then you're sleeping the rest of the time.
Well, then you're
because
not spending the money, are you? Because you're at work, aren't you? So that means you should have a nice little nest egg, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, no, not necessarily.
Oh,
I mean, things still cost money.
Oh,
You're
everything still costs
still
money.
costs
Oh,
money.
okay. So, like,
People
if you're,
still live.
let me ask you a question. If you're working 80 hours a week, are you like going out to,
Yeah.
like the steakhouse?
No, you're not.
Oh,
How much
are you
money do
going? Are
think
you
you're
going?
making?
Maybe.
How
Are
much
you
money-
going? Are you going out to the
I know,
club?
okay,
Are you going out to the
you
club?
You can't have a nest egg big enough to not to stop working the 80 hours a week long enough, and then two, you can't acquire a skill.
What do you
because
mean?
you're
I
working.
so
You
I
don't
was
have time to
hoping you would
acquire a
say that.
skill. Unless you people work 80 hours a week and go to school for 40 hours
So,
or 20 hours a week.
I have a
That's
guy.
doing
I have a
100
guy
hours
we could call right now that works 80 hours a week, that just bought a house, owns a Porsche, and just got his citizenship, and he works 80 to 90 hours a week working minimum wage jobs every day. So you telling me you're less skilled than a Guatemalan immigrant with no education, that you
That's
can't
not
be able to
skill.
do this?
That
That-
seems like
it seems
slavery.
it
I'm
seems
not
like
gonna lie, he's right. I
it
don't care
seems
if
like
you
he's
get a
got
Porsche, if you have to work
gumption.
90
He
hours a
seems
week
like
to
he's
get
got
it.
gumption, and you just
How
y'all
dare you
just don't.
slander bros grind? How
Yeah,
dare
that's what
you.
it sounds like. It sounds like you
I
just
agree.
don't have the
That's what I
gumption.
Standard bros
said.
grind.
Immigrants are very skilled.
Bro
and they're
loves the
valuable
grind.
workers. I
Like-
agree.
We
I'm
need
not
more of
slandering
him.
his grind.
I
His-
like
And less
it.
of this.
Everybody
That's
His
it.
employers are slandering his grind. He has to work 90 hours a week to afford that shit. That's
Hey,
crazy.
here's the thing. Here's the
His
he's he's
Employers don't
clearly
seem
the
as
type of
valuable.
guy. He's clearly the type of
employers
guy
don't
that
seem
if his
as
employers
valuable.
pulled it back to
Especially if
60,
it's
he'd go get
employers
another
don't-
job.
That's exactly what would happen.
His employers don't seem as valuable. Pay him more.
No. What you don't understand is that he's like a workaholic. Like he
Getting
wants to work.
cucked.
He's gonna if you gave him more time, he would use it to work.
That's
Like,
exactly
the
what
kind
it
of
is.
person he clearly
You're
is.
If he was
telling
a
me
workaholic, why didn't he acquire
He
a
doesn't-
skill to work to get a better job so he can work more and get paid more?
Because
No,
he's
that is a valid point. When I worked at Costco, a lot of the young people there.
Ton of money. Like
Okay, and Papa could probably agree when she worked at UPS. The younger people that work in these kind of jobs generally have other goals and ambitions. These jobs aren't all like final landing zones for everyone. Like a lot of people are using these as stepping stones to get farther in life. Not everyone who
Not
works
really.
at Costco is going to be there in 5 years. A lot of these jobs have really high turnover because of that.
UPS is literally one of the most dead end jobs you can end up in. Unironically,
Well, they
like,
pay really good if you're a driver,
Many
right?
of my bro, tons of my bro.
I know a bunch of
everybody at
drivers
UPS
that love their
hates
job
working
here.
at UPS.
How about you
UPS.
pay in other ways?
Fuck
Drivers,
UPS.
though?
Okay, I have to say, straight yes, the drivers hate bro. I'm not even gonna get into it. All I have to say is like UPS was actually one of the most soul crushing jobs because there were so many people that worked there that were like, working themselves to the bone. They would get injuries on the work site. Like I literally got multiple injuries on the work site that I worked through because I didn't have enough sick days. There are tons of people that worked there that were just stuck at that workplace because they started when they were 18 and they worked so much they didn't have time for school. Like there was a guy named Jeremy. I talked to him. He was a cool guy. And he was sad that he couldn't apply other places because he worked at UPS for so long. It was the only thing on his resume. There are tons of people who end up there and they don't get to go anywhere else because they can't afford to lift themselves out of that position. So I understand what you're saying, but like unironically, jobs like those can be extremely soul crushing because you can see how many people just have to give away their lives.
So here I have a response. I have a response. Hold on. I have a response. Hold on. Hold on. Let me take over here.
Hold on, Bucker. Wasn't your argument that they could just go get a Taco Bell?
Impressive.
Hold on. I got.
I was talking about how you could work at how you might not be signing non-compete. Like non-competes aren't happening at like all the
Your
different Taco
specific
Bells.
argument was like an actual non-compete. That was like what you were arguing.
Yeah, I was arguing against the non-compete.
Okay,
Let me. So I want to make. I want to.
They make people
Yeah,
sign
but like,
non-competes
come
for all these
on.
jobs, and I said I did not sign a non-compete.
I was
Where the fuck
obviously
did I
being
bring up?
I was obviously
Yes.
being hyperbolic when I said
Well,
that you're signing a non-compete at Burger King.
I want to go to. I want
that
to.
does exist.
I want to say something. And I'm going to go. Hold on.
Well, I mean, like,
That-
sure, but there you
that-
go.
that-
I didn't even know that wasn't like.
If you
I was,
work for a corporation,
Taco Bell didn't crush my
corporation
soul. To be
itself
clear,
will
Taco
have you
Bell was
sign
like
a
a step-up
non-compete
job.
clause. It's
But-
in your
Oh, let me-
employee handbook. It's
UPS
almost
did.
like
UPS
I'm
was
gonna-
like
my
bad.
Let me. Let me.
corporate position. It's corporate standard.
Let me just jump in here. All right, so I have an answer to what Buckaroo said, and then I want to go to Tyler because he's been awfully quiet there. But yeah, so my answer to the when it's soul crushing is really very simple, and that's get good scrub. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm sorry that you're being soul crushed. Work harder and cry me a river. Everybody has to work.
Literally some of the hardest.
Yeah.
They were literally some
Listen,
of the hardest
I'm not
working people I've
arguing
ever
this.
met.
I'm not
Like,
arguing it's not
their
hard work,
whole shift-
but like it's
their
like
whole
I don't
shift,
care.
They're
Like
unloading like hundreds upon hundreds, like literally thousands of.
that's
they
not,
wouldn't
but
give
and
them
that's still not my
$20
problem. Is my point. Like, oh well, work harder, go get another job.
They technically did get overtime.
That
Like-
would be impressive no matter what job it was. I'd
The
be
hours at
into it.
UPS are really wild.
I don't
Yeah,
understand.
it's basically get good scrub, don't care, cry me a river. We've all had terrible jobs. Tyler, go ahead. Like,
Well, my point is just it's a dead end job. It's not like another job that, teenagers get and then move on from. It's literally a job where people have their lives, they get stuck at these jobs. UPS is one of those jobs where people plan to move on. Like I know people who work there who are stuck there.
we'll go Tyler, and then we're gonna go Pentemple. To Tyler,
This
go
was
ahead.
Sociologic's point earlier.
Oh,
where
never
it's
mind.
like,
I guess
okay,
we're going to
not
Pentemple and Tyler.
universal.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
UPS
But you
bad.
literally referenced me
Guys,
directly and
UPS
said I could speak on it, and I disagreed with you, brother. Don't.
That's
stress about it.
fine.
Okay.
I'm not stressed.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
Hey, everybody, it's been a while.
Are we beefing? Are we beefing? Oh, beefing. Sorry.
Not enough.
So I kind of Gibbs, your whole preposition here is more everyone's lazy because they're not working a lot of hours, but
at the end of the day, there is a diminishing return, and you got to find your soft cap on how many hours you can work to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, if you want to be a business owner, you want to go limitless with no top to your paycheck and make everything, you're going to have to unfortunately sign this contract with yourself that you are going to be available for work 24/7 if it's required for the job, and there's nobody to lean on and depend on. The buck stops with you. So you're kind of viewing it from the perspective of an owner, whereas a worker, it's a different equation. And there are absolutely lazy people. So again, I wanted to stop. I wanted to pull out all the good examples. As I said earlier, this is a 1v8. I side with you a lot. There are a lot of lazy workers in the workforce that just don't want to do anymore. And it's not good enough to just work really hard at a crappy job. You also have to work smart. You have to build a certain set of skills in our skill-based economy to push yourself up through that economy. So just being a hard worker at McDonald's forever, maybe you'll get promoted to manager, and that's actually a fairly well-paying job, but generally most people don't. You actually have to be smart about it as well. Hard work alone isn't enough. So laziness is sometimes it, but it's bad decision-making, lack of mentorship, and other factors that we can also correct. If it was just laziness, then I'd say take away all entitlement programs, and again, burn the homeless.
But it's not just laziness, so I'm glad you already established that before you made the burn the homeless comment.
I still think we can burn the homeless.
In GTA, I don't know if we can call for any groups that anything bad happened to him. For the
You
record,
definitely can't, and just condemn it now while your channel's still up.
Yeah, we condemn all groups doing mass things that are bad. That's that. There we go.
I mean, getting rid of entitlement programs is basically just burning the homeless, right? I mean, that's basically.
Yeah, metaphorically though, in a metaphorical way, and also fuck them.
Metaphorically too.
Like fuck them.
It seems like a lot of the people on these programs are just people who wouldn't be working otherwise. Like they're disabled people, they're single mothers who probably should be taking care of kids and not necessarily working. They're students. Like it seems like that's a large percentage.
Yeah, but why should my tax dollars go to pay for Cracky Magoo? Honestly, Cracky Magoo probably is one of the few that would be working because he's fucking cracked out. But most of them, like Heroin Mom or Heroin Sally, they're going to be over there dead in the corner. And why should I pay for someone that's just a net loss when I'm over here busting my ass? Like, explain that to an average taxpayer. Why, hey, you should have to pay for the good, to keep Heroin Sally alive and comfortable. Fuck that. Fuck my neighbor. I don't give two shit. I live in Texas. I don't want neighbors. I hate it. It's the worst.
We're gonna have more homeless. We're gonna have homeless people in mass, and they're it's annoying to have beggars, man. I'll tell you that right now. Right? If you just take away all of it, like the little securities we have, keep our streets, keep the streets clean at the very least, you know. No, you got to argue from from their perspectives, man.
No, we have a solution for that.
Streets are clean.
We've already got a solution. Trump's put forth rounding up the hobos.
Streets are clean.
Streets are clean. We have less homeless, you know.
We can make
because of these securities.
Trump wants to build camps for the homeless. He's already suggested that.
Yes, base.
We love when people build camps. That's super awesome every time.
Well, they're hobos, bro.
Well, it goes along the same people that think housing first is like.
This is just housing. No,
it's actually a leftist idea.
America can't compete in terrorists, so we're gonna put all the people in camps, and we're just gonna breed them.
Yeah, we're making
the most resentful camp in.
No, hold on. We're gonna hold on. Let me do your thing. What we're gonna crazy? Hold on. I have a solution. Ollie, this is what we're gonna do.
I'm like, how do these people not revolt?
No, Ollie, what we're gonna do is we're gonna build hobo communes where they get free healthcare and they're taken care of and they're guarded. Yeah, we're gonna build hobo communes.
And then we tell them exactly where the local.
Hold on,
America's so divided to be.
No, the tariffs are. The tariffs are going to pay for it.
Yes.
We're begging to be conquered. Begging.
The tariffs are going to pay for everything. They're going to pay for everything.
I'm like, we're going to be taken over.
We've done this before.
Okay? Russia's going to come in Russia's going to be like, hey, homeless people, we'll give you bats, okay? And they give all the homeless people bats. There's going to be a homeless people uprising, and we're going to be taken over.
They've done this before. They were called Hoovervilles. I think Trump offering Trumpvilles sounds about on brand for 1929. So yeah,
we already have.
I mean, hold on, wait. It seems like we all agree homelessness is bad. It seems like we all want taxpayer money to go to.
No.
Taxpayer money is not going to be taxpayer money.
They live in a tariff-themed
No. Tariff money and taxpayer money
The homeless are going to pay
fundamentally
for it.
different money.
Trump's going to make the homeless pay for it. That's what's going to happen.
Let's go to time. Time.
That's not a bad idea.
Time.
We can make that happen.
True. Take all their panhandling money.
No, here's what we do. I got one solution. I got a solution.
The panhandling.
Oh, hold on. I got a solution. What we do is we take. No. We can just do what y'all want. We can build the camps. This is what y'all proposed before, right? With communism, we just build the camp. We give them health care, and then we just send them to the mines because we've given them a job.
Without money.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna give them a job, and then we can make the hobos mine the rare earth minerals.
Can I get free
problem solved?
Can I get free healthcare?
No, we'll go be homeless.
No, you can't.
And we can make them work 60-hour days.
The homeless people get temporary healthcare. They don't get like enrolled in some like permanent program that only they get to access.
No, fuck that. Make the homeless.
They have to work too.
Given jobs, and then.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. They can mine the rare earth minerals.
That would be how they get out of the program. Once they get a job, they're out of the program.
They should be given.
Yeah, so we just require them to work for the rare earth mining.
It's ironic that the progressives are the most resistant to trying any sort of change for good. But I'll just say I think it's a genuine pursuit that we say like hey, these people are just overdosing left and right in the streets. Maybe we could this has always been a leftist idea as far as I'm aware that the housing problem starts with housing first. You give them housing, you give them a place to sleep, you give them something like that. That's a leftist idea. So it's not even necessarily something I jump on board with.
I want a FEMA tent. I want a FEMA tent.
You're describing them as camps, which
really let's look at the biggest impediment to housing first has been zoning.
Well, we build the camps. We don't have to have zoning.
I don't necessarily agree with housing first in the sense of like giving them like full-on housing. I think the nicer stuff you give them, the more likely they are to just destroy it, especially when they first are taken off the streets and they're still in their drug addict mindset. We see it with hotel rooms and stuff when we do try some of that stuff.
That's assuming literally all homeless people are like crazed drug addicts.
A lot of them are. Well, you're presuming that like how many of them, how many people that are homeless do you think are there because of insurmountable bad luck? Like it's not like any sort of a level of irresponsibility. I think there is a very strong correlation with being homeless and being addicted to drugs, being irresponsible, being financially illiterate, being like these are obvious.
Do you think it's a mark on us as a country that we have enough of a homeless population made up of mentally ill people that we haven't taken care of? Right? Come on, we are the most
but I don't think I don't think in a free society, to answer your question, yes. But I don't think in a free society we're going to ever eliminate that. So it's not like if you have freedom, like there are going to be people who choose to be financially irresponsible, people who choose to spend all of their money and live paycheck to paycheck because when they have 300 left over, they go and spend it on the weekend. Like there's a level of responsibility here. But what I'm saying, when you have a free society, there will be the existence of poverty. But you're right that like the levels of poverty growing up and like that stuff, there are things we can learn from how we're doing it.
Here's what I'm asking. What if we set up the camp? Here's my proposal. We set the camp up. And here's how we pay for it, right? This is real simple, real microeconomics, real easy stuff we can all understand. Yeah, we like this. What we're going to do is we're going to take the camp, we're going to put the hobos in there, we're going to give them some health care. Oh, God, that's just going to pay for it. The hobos are going to pay for it. You know how they're going to pay for it? We're going to force them to work 60 to 80-hour work weeks in the rare earth mineral mines to pay for the living condition and the stuff. So they'll work so hard, they'll be so tired that they won't be able to do drugs.
Slavery, just put them in jail first.
Problem solved.
If we just jail all the homeless, we can strip them of their rights.
Well, that would actually be if Trump was a dictator and they were actually just going to outlaw. Hold on, that would be him if he outlawed homelessness and made it an arrestable crime. What we're doing instead is offering a progressive communal housing solution. No. Why do you hate progressivism? Why do you hate progressivism?
I'm not a progressive.
I'm just offering what you want the progressives are always proposing.
I live here, and I'm like, yo, fam, I should probably not like hate every single person that like has a different view than me. And I'm like, yo, this is how you breed terrorists. We already have them, but they're just in small groups. You just want to put them together, have them form a large militia, and
like I said, there will be an uprising. There will be an uprising. Okay.
What?
We will be creating our own uprising.
The junkie rebellion.
Yeah, that's what I'm terrified of, bro. The junkie rebellion. Yeah, give me a break. Like, come on.
Oh no.
I mean, not for nothing. Wait. Not for nothing. The Mexicans are coming over in troves, according to you, and they're killing your cattle.
No, we stopped them. We stopped. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They ain't doing that shit no more.
I know, so now
CBP home.
So now we're just gonna go home. Different group of people, and now you're gonna have a different rebellion that's gonna be a problem too. It's just like, we gotta deport the homeless.
Multiple anti-American factions in the nation, all because of America.
So first of all, we don't have the immigrant problem anymore. Abbott solved it.
You already have rich kid communists. Like do you want
trade
little micro militias?
What's your trade offer?
Yeah,
what's
but
your trade offer? The rich kids for who? I'm so down.
I said you already have rich kid communists. You want like homeless militias in the streets?
No, here's my question though, because what I propose.
Wait.
Go ahead, Non-Fod. Go ahead, Non-Fod.
You have enough self-eating Americans.
Hold on, Non-Fod. Go ahead.
Show.
Non-Fod. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we all clearly don't like
Many of which
homelessness.
are
I
in
think
this
clearly
call.
there are more humane ways to get rid of homelessness and less humane ways to get rid of homelessness. I'm just
Like housing
like,
first.
Why don't you guys hated Hassan? Do you want more Hassan fans?
Yeah,
I'm trying to help you out here.
Some of the zoning laws, get rid of some of the zoning laws, probably like, and then like collect some money from consumption taxation, or really like any type of taxation, but I like consumption taxation, and then just build some affordable homes. Like,
the camps. The camps.
Isn't that what tariffs are? Consumption taxation?
Unironically, there was a housing
trade,
initiative
yeah.
in my area that wasn't allowed to. Like they were on wait for 2 years just because they kept getting turned down for zoning, even though they already owned the land.
So
they already owned the land. They already like had all the money to put into it, but they got turned down multiple times just because zoning.
yeah, so what Don Fon's advocating for is ignore democracy and the voters who want laws on how their towns and cities are structured with zoning laws.
I offer a solution.
I would argue most voters don't have a say in zoning laws either.
Well,
I don't have that much of a say in zoning laws.
Yeah. I think something is good, even if most people don't agree, by the way.
It was just half. And then the second thing Non-Fon advocated for was a tax against consumption. Aren't you anti-tariff? That's just a tax against consumption for foreign
There are good ways
products.
to tax consumption, there are bad ways to tax
Your consumption tax would be a
bro.
tariff on everything, even U.S. made goods.
I just-
You're a monster.
That's less distortionary because it doesn't
Federal
distort.
sales tax.
Well, hold on.
Distortionary because it doesn't.
Which, if we're gonna get rid of income tax, we could talk about that.
Well,
I placed my
mean-
limit orders. I placed my limit orders every Thursday. I've like so much lined up. I just need him to tweet the tariffs one more time.
They're like Abbers
Send that limit order down, pick up the shares.
Like anything under 150K, don't tax me, please.
No, I'm just saying.
It's just
I
real
find
quick,
it.
right?
I find.
Like,
feel you.
I need to reply.
If you're not
Go
placing
ahead,
limit
Non-Fon.
orders
Go
right
ahead,
now, you're
Non-Fon.
failing.
A lot of the reason we have these zoning laws is because boomers vote.
147, 148.
Go ahead, Non-Fon.
Amazing.
Right underneath.
Boomers are the ones voting in
Amazing.
local elections, and
Those
they like
years
the
haven't
zoning laws
happened
because
in a few years.
it keeps the.
Oh, they're the only ones allowed to?
Hold on. God damn, guys. Hold on.
They're the only ones that show up.
What's
They're
up?
the only ones that show up. Young people don't care, and
Young people need to get with the
and
program.
I'm allowed
They
to
need
think
wake the
something is
fuck up.
good, even if a lot of people don't like it. Like I don't like zoning laws. I understand, like in a democracy, like there are people who like zoning laws, and they might outweigh me, but I'm still allowed to not like zoning laws. I still
I'm
think that's
okay
a
with-
valid opinion.
Well,
And also, tariffs are not an efficient means to tax consumption, although they do, yes, obviously tax consumption. But
Cal, you look like you were ready to say something.
Well, that was just my question. Well, for him that he was responding to initially is that if you're gonna be doing tariffs is at the end of the day it's a regressive tax on consumption.
So my question is,
Right.
okay, so
There are ways to
hold
do
on.
consumption taxes progressively, and there are ways to do consumption taxes that don't tax business to business transactions. Tariffs
Like
will affect
taxing
business-to-business
yachts or something.
transactions.
Like most high.
Well, there
like,
are
the percentage
there are a
of
lot of different.
The percentage of money that the wealthy spend is not on consumption, right? Most of it goes into their bank account, and builds for the future.
Well,
you can if you want to read more about this, because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, Testy, no, hold on.
Has a really good article on his Substack about the expenditures tax. You could raise about.
Tyler brought this up the other night, though. He brought this up. If you tax the billionaires at 100%, all of them in the United States, that's only like 5% of whatever fucking buckets, bro. It's not gonna pay shit. Like so. Here's my argument, right?
Like billionaires. Well, in that case, they really need to
hold on.
not be forced to keep all that.
But we're getting too deep in the weeds on the taxes here, and I want to talk policy. I feel like I have put forth, and I get some of y'all like center lefties, or maybe not as progressive as Admiral Libs is, but Admiral Libs here has put forth a extremely progressive plan. I've offered communal housing with paid welfare via a fund.
Tenting.
Yeah, so they're going to get communal tenting, FEMA houses, just like as y'all love FEMA. So y'all love putting money into it. And then we're going to get those houses. We're going to guarantee medical care paid for by forcing them to work, but after assigning them to jobs for the pay for those medical care in the rare earth mine. And y'all are just, so that's what communism and progressivism, we're giving them jobs, and we're just having them sign the contract that they don't have a home and they need medical care, and then to pay for that, they have to work here 60 hours a week in the mines.
Yeah, last time there wasn't a contract, that was the problem.
Yeah.
Last time there wasn't a contract, that was the problem. This time there's a contract that no problem.
This is called progressive. This is called progressivism. Are you not a fan?
What?
This is progressivism.
I'm not a progressive.
I think progressives do the. I think progressives. The issue is like progressives like to do.
Well, they don't like it when the conservative guy gets progressive. It's crazy.
Like to go like you're saying progressives are like go forward, and you guys are like make America.
This is your logic, though. This is your logic.
It's backwards.
Oh no, but you expect conservatives to pay for everything already. Like y'all
didn't define great. Great could be communism.
Yeah, shit's going fucking right back, baby. You can't love it.
Pit Temple, what do you think? You're awfully quiet over there. Do you like progressivism?
To go back to 90s, the wages are definitely going back. All right, I'm definitely feeling it.
You like progressivism, Pit Temple? You seem like a pretty hardcore Trump guy.
I feel like I've turned into the progressive since I'm, willing to engage with radical change in our government and, try to build a better future and try to tackle this whole national debt issue. I feel like I am turning into a progressive.
Interesting.
I'm willing to take some risks. I'm not defending the status quo anymore. I'm no longer the one defending the status quo, is what I should say. That's what's happening. You guys are now defending the status quo. That's fine, but you guys like this whole thing about Doge, for example. It's like you're basically suggesting that like the status quo is sustainable, that we're not like in like dire issue with our national debt, with our spending, with our government flows. You're acting like everything is like fine. Like what are you doing? Why are you even bothering with this? What's the issue? It's like, what do you mean? What's the issue? Like we have a huge issue. I don't know when the national debt's gonna explode. I mean, I've heard Democrats make the argument that we could have a $200 trillion debt. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, maybe. Fuck, I don't know. But it doesn't sound like that makes sense to me.
Not down the magic money computers, bro. We don't need to worry about the debt. But I mean, look. Obviously, that's not the argument that people have against Doge. Is they don't think the goal that they're trying to do is good. But like Gibbs, I mean, come on, man. If you give me the option between two societies, one in which homeless people are forced to work in camps in presumably pretty bad conditions, and one in which we just have a
those conditions. Hold on, those conditions. Hold on, no. Here's the thing. This is the problem, and this is the problem that I have with all of the social programs. Those conditions. Hey, you know what? If those would be bad conditions, it's because they make those conditions bad. This would be funded by their labor and their work, and they would be in charge of the society. And guess what? If they choose to make it bad conditions, that's on them. We gave them all the tools to start. Why should we keep giving away money to people that aren't changing? Tell me.
We're already giving them all the tools right now, though. If that's the case, why do anything?
Thank you. I'm glad you figured that out.
No social programs.
I don't think our welfare system
Who will build the roads, Gibbs?
The crackheads. After we fucking give them more crack and, put them in the camp.
Prisoners build the roads. All we need is more prisoners, guys. All we need is more prisoners. Like, you're not thinking right. You're not thinking. We go.
Yeah, that's why Trump is
DEI in prison.
No. See, this is why Trump is not actually a dictator. Because if he was a dictator, he would be doing exactly what you're saying. He would just make a national a homelessness ban or national camping ban, and then he would make it an arrestable and jailable offense, and then he would go round them up and put them in jail, and then use them as slave labor. But he's not doing that because he's not actually a dictator, just like the left is claiming.
We don't have enough space in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they like?
I think he's not a dictator yet.
literally,
He's not a dictator yet.
I
have a question.
And then the cost of keeping somebody imprisoned is already so high for the average person.
And Doge should look into that too.
Just
Wait,
rehabilitate
Gibbsy.
them and then give them the
Gibbsy.
ability to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gibbsy, are you willing to vote in Trump for a third term? If like he's like, fuck, I want to run for a third term, and
if there's a constitutional amendment change. Yeah, if there's an amendment change, then maybe. But he's also pretty fucking old. He would have to prove to me that he's mentally capable.
You think he wouldn't just try anyway?
I don't think he would try.
I don't think he's going to try anyway.
Would MAGA support a third term Trump? Into which case,
not without an
Actually, hey, Sociologic, can I ask you a question?
Not without an amendment
change. I talked about this
change.
on Twitter the other week, and I was thinking about it like the next day. You asked if Trump.
And
Doge, if Trump failed,
if Trump and Doge succeed in like 60% of the shit that you guys want,
holy shit, 60%, that'd be wonderful.
60-70%, right?
That'd be glorious.
Would you then like elect Trump for a third term? Honestly, at that point, like, would you even maybe start thinking about maybe Elon can run for president? Who cares?
No, not Elon. Not Elon. Never.
Know that.
Absolutely not.
He who saves the government breaks no laws, right?
No, Elon sounds.
He who saves the country.
The only reason I would support a third term at this point is if I felt like it was necessary. I don't feel like that. Like I do think we found our movements like next baton care. I think JD Vance is a great next up.
I prefer Abbott.
I don't know, but I will say, look, I'm not surprised you guys don't like him.
I think conservatives have. Hold on.
Wow, I'm stunned. The people who hate Trump also hated JD Vance.
Do you think JD Vance is as effective or is as popular as Trump?
Well, hold on.
I think he.
Hold on.
I think he could. Not as next to Trump, not as a VP, but as a.
But I want to answer that as well.
As of right now, he could be.
Unlike the Democrats, though, the Republicans have a different. But the Republicans have a different advantage.
Maybe he comes out as gay.
But sure, whatever. Listen, the Republicans have a different advantage that you're not realizing is that there are multiple leaders within the Republican Party that can step up. Maybe Bob Chicago. But listen, y'all keep going. JD Vance, obviously, he's a clear frontrunner. Abbott's got to be considered it. DeSantis probably is going to consider it again. And then we have people like Rubio. We have people like Mike Johnson. Listen,
DeSantis.
I don't know. It depends. I don't know. It depends. Abbott would be.
I could imagine being a character from Ed and then.
No, Abbott would be very popular. Abbott would be very popular.
After Trump is the only hugely 40% of Republicans being like MAGA is a huge deal.
Yeah, but things change. We already have that. We have multiple leaders. Well, this is just code. That's just code.
Doesn't like DeSantis.
We have a different problem.
No,
the problem is we have a lot.
Content with Vance.
No. The problem is we have multiple quality contenders. The Dems have no contenders. Y'all's best character is AOC. We have about 5 people that are good. Y'all got about 2.
You're gonna run Tim Walz again?
Yeah, you're gonna run Tim Walz. He's so manly, bro.
Who should run? It's Big Gretch.
It's Buttigieg is who y'all should run.
Please run Tim Walz.
I pray.
I'd run Gretchen Whitmer. She's a big Gretch could win. Get GMAC cash.
No shot. She pissed off too many Catholics. No shot. She's done.
Tim was the only one in the 2024 election vice president who had to have a positive approval rating.
Yeah. I don't know why you guys still believe that approval ratings and polls when you literally get blown out over and over and over again. You guys were so convinced that Kamala was going to win. There's no way Trump going to win the popular vote. You guys are just wrong every time you listen to polls.
I did not think.
Please run Tim Walz. That's what I'll say. Please fucking do it.
I was an oracle. I called.
You believe the polls that Tim Walz is popular?
I called Michigan. Going red like 2 months into the elections. Okay?
Hey, we're delving into Papa's territory now. It's not going to be Tim Walz. It's not going to be Gavin Newsom.
Bro.
If the party doesn't fix itself and kick out the progressive rot and put Josh Shapiro or Fetterman in, they're not going to win an election in 4 years.
Who's Fetterman?
It's going to be Mark Cuban.
Is Fetterman that bald guy?
You're talking about
Fetterman.
You're talking about Strong. All right. Let me.
Less Israeli shills, please.
Hold on.
I'd really fucking appreciate it, man.
Yeah. All right. So, all right.
More Cuban.
Let's start with Tyler here. Let's get closing thoughts. Tell her where everybody finds you. We're like coming close to the end here, and then closing thoughts on everything that we've covered.
Average Debate Enjoyer on YouTube and Twitch. Average Debate Enjoyer on Twitter. That's it. Yeah, I got it right. Closing thoughts is just shit I didn't get to. Trump did not have to. His argument is he did not have to follow the rules set forth for him on declassification because they interfered with his constitutional duties, obligations. And I would argue that Biden has a very similar argument here. Non-Fun and I were talking about this in DMs. I think we're going to try to continue our specific niche argument tomorrow night. If anyone's interested, is that cool with you? You didn't answer that, but I think we were just like a final answer. But otherwise, everything I said is right, and that's just, the only thing that matches my intellect is my empathy. So sorry, everybody. Just don't try to compete, and you won't be disappointed. Have a good day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Abers.
Yeah, I think in closing, just to touch on the auto pen thing, I think as long as you can provide some type of evidence, even a person saying, yes, Joe Biden told me to do this, that would be plenty sufficient and all of us would have no problem with it. So that's, I think, where we've kind of landed. I think investigation is a little warranted based on the extenuating circumstances that clearly we've all conceded that his mental capacity was diminished. At the very least, he could have been taken advantage of without his knowledge. So that's where I land on that. And if you work 40 hours a week, I don't think you're lazy by any means. So keep up the grind.
Fantastic. Buckaroo.
Yeah, the AutoPen incident, I feel like it's kind of silly. I understand the complaints. I don't think they're all nonsense, but personally, I'm not that invested, I have to admit. I think for the AutoPen, as long as we find approval, approval from the president, then I'm all good. I do think there should be some sort of verification process for the future. It's kind of wild to me that it's just like whoever has control of the pen can just sign shit. Like it's kind of insane to me that we don't have like an already established procedure on that front. I feel like the government's just technologically brain dead in like every way possible, and there are so many things that could resolve this issue. I don't think if you work 40 hours a week that you're lazy. I think obviously if you want to like get ahead, working more is respectable. If you want to work 60 or 70 hours a week, go ahead. But I think if you're working 40 hours, that you should at least be able to survive. Yeah, that's my main position. You can find me on X, on Blue Sky, YouTube, Big Papa Buckaroo.
Fantastic. I count Rich.
I think the lesson of the day is universalizability. So if you're going to create a rule for a specific political situation you find yourself into now, then I agree with you. I'm fine with it. Just then apply it going forward to everybody. That's true with both of these topics, right? So on the auto pen thing, I think one of the reasons I find that people start yelling as soon as I start saying something like that is because they want to create a rule that they can apply to the person that they don't like, but they don't want to then apply that to their own guy. Let's create universalized principles and apply that all across the board. As far as the second topic, it's the same thing. If you're going to create this rule for people at the bottom of the economic system that they have to work 60 hours a week or they're lazy, fine. But if you're an heiress, if you're Paris Hilton and you work 0 hours a week, well, then you're lazy too. And so we should apply the same standard across the board. Either you're lazy at 40 hours a week and you're also lazy at 0 hours a week, or it's not true for either party.
Now, we're going to definitely have to do this one out more in depth soon. We'll figure that out because that's a terrible take. And I just want you to know that I think it's a terrible take. But it's your take.
Proverbs and Psalms versus the Book of Gibbs.
Yeah,
okay?
well,
that's the real debate. It's Gibbs versus Jesus. Okay, that's the debate we need.
And the Lord's he works in mysterious ways. That's all I'm saying. Non-font 420.
Contradicts his writing. Yes.
Never
Biden's deep state over Trump's chaos any day of the week. Easiest decision ever. And I mean, look, I don't really care if we define someone working 40 hours a week as lazy. or not lazy or whatever. But I think welfare is good and should be distributed to people who need it. If you want to watch me, I stream on YouTube or YouTube, Twitch, and Kick non-fun on YouTube, non-fun420 on Twitch and Kick. Go watch my debates on YouTube as well. They're cool.
Thank you so much, Sociologic.
If you work 40 hours a week somewhere and your employer doesn't pay you enough to live just, a livable life, I think you should steal everything in the store. Do it well so that you don't get caught, and then make sure that you can, you want the resell. So to be good at stealing, that's the ethical
You need to
good,
steal
is be
for at
good
least
at
6 years a
stealing.
Well,
week.
you don't
though, if
even
you're
need
lazy.
you don't even need to steal things to
Previous
resell.
rent.
Okay, some things you just steal on principle. Okay, I took
This is
handfuls
true.
of
It is the
UPS.
it is the ethical good.
That's California's
Because you-
philosophy. That's for sure.
For all my fun takes, you can catch me at Sociologic with 2 L's. I am not a shower caddy. Fuck you, Gibbs.
You see, was that on purpose or was it not? I couldn't resist. Katya.
Basically, as for the auto pen, I think that whether or not the auto pen was used properly or improperly is more of an internal issue. The real issue, as for the pardons, is whether or not Biden authorized it or not, considering that a pardon technically does not have to be written down in writing and signed about and ruled upon, then I mean that's the main situation. So if we can provide evidence that he did not authorize it, I'd say that's mega fucked up, but until we see that, I don't know what to tell you. As for the second thing, I think that people who work 40 hours a week are not lazy. If working at or under 40 hours a week makes you lazy, then it sucks for me because I'm technically mandated to be lazy by the fact that I have issues and also the fact that I'm in school, so that sucks. But I think that having a good work-life balance does allow people to improve themselves, like, being in school or having a family and stuff like that. And I think that people should be more economically literate, which is it's a hard goal to get to, but that should be super, super encouraged, because then people will be able to do more with, less if they're not wasting money on stupid shit, and they will be able to better themselves by going to school, going to trade school, having a family, this, that, and the third. And also, I think that, employers who have a bunch of people on welfare are just passing the buck along, and they should just be taxed more anyways. Bye.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Pentuple, who is going to be with me on Monday on Wix when we're going to be discussing AutoPin further.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently.
Nice,
so
nice.
so I don't know if y'all know this, but Pentuple and I are actually going to be hosting tryouts for Monday, because apparently I need to find the right strongest warrior against AutoPin. And I told them it was me, and they laughed. So we're looking for another one, and Pin and I get to decide who that is. And if I don't feel anybody's up to snuff, go fuck yourself. But go ahead, Pentuple. Tell us what you thought.
Wait, you mean auto pentuple?
Auto Pentuple. You see what I did? See what you did there? Nice.
So I guess just to give my closing on the two topics, I'd say the auto pen issue is really not about the auto pen or about revoking pardons. It's about the forgery, and it's about the authority of the auto pen. Even with what Katya's saying is true, we accept that pardons can be declared verbally. We still don't have that. So now that would have to be provided. And maybe that's how this outcomes. Maybe Katya has a good point here. Maybe we get to the end of this and they go and they say, oh, well, Biden declared it in some form. I don't think we have that. But as far as the question about the pardons, auto pens are just simply not self-authenticating, and they require some sort of authority provided. I think that will be established by the court as an existing rule. I don't think we need to establish a new rule. I think that it's not self-authenticating in court. The burden of proof will go back to whoever used the auto pen. And that's we'll see how the court settles with it. And then regarding the financial livelihoods and stuff, my realistic only comment is that I do believe that generally people get what they deserve. They get out what they put in. I know it's not a perfect correlation, but I think it's strong enough that I don't complain. I think that generally speaking, if you work hard, you'll get good out of it. And if you don't, you won't. And some people think they're working hard and they're not really. Some people think they're responsible and they're not really responsible. And some people lie to themselves. I think it's all very personal. I think that generally speaking, though, in my experience, the people that I know that work really hard, see benefits from it. And the people that I know that don't work really hard, they suffer for it. So the correlation's strong enough. It's not perfect. Some people have really bad luck. I do think that generally speaking, you shouldn't, waste your time in any sense. I don't know if I agree with Gibbs that it all has to be some sort of income driven pursuit. I like passion projects and other stuff like that. But I do think, just to wrap that up, generally people get what they put in.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. We do have a couple of announcements real quick. Friday night, tomorrow, we're going to be going live about 7:30. We're going to be doing community night. I think we're playing Escape the Backrooms. Monday, we're going to be on at 5 o'clock on Wix. So that's what I was talking about with me and the Temple. And then at 7 o'clock, I'll be on Primes. That should be good. And then Tuesday is going to be a really fun one. We're going to have Mel Hisi and Is Justini do an IRL stream with Gibbs. I don't know what we're going to do. Probably wasted shenanigans somewhere. So that'll be fun. Wednesday is going to be interesting. We're going to see what panels we're going to be doing. But I'm looking to probably host 2 panels on Wednesday and on Thursday because we got a lot of people wanting to talk about a lot of things. And why not strike while the iron is hot? So I'll figure out the schedule here this weekend and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's exciting times. I also want to congratulate everybody in the group here that's been part of this group. We've done a lot of things this week across this group and Prime's group. We've been going everywhere. I've seen back-to-back people from here on Wix this week. We had Fabian. He's not here right now, but he's with us in spirit. Debate Destiny last night. Me and Prime were on Tim Pool. Everybody's doing crazy things. It's very good. It's a rising tide. And then it looks like Tyler's going to be going on the Crucible. So yeah, it's a rising tide.
Be Charlie.
This is the new meta. There's the old and busted and the new meta, and you're turning into the new meta. So right now, we're gonna go raid out to somebody. I guess let's see who we're gonna do. We'll raid out to somebody that we're gonna see on Monday, and just because it's a hate raid, we were just kidding.
Tyler and I are going to talk about AutoPen as well tomorrow and continue this debate if anyone is interested.
Yeah, good. Get it all fleshed out because I want fucking Johnny Cochran on my team.
I think
not Alabama State University the third.
I might be down.
What was your question?
But all right, bye everybody. Bye. Okay. Woo.
Bye.
Yes, thanks for everybody coming. It's always good.
All right, y'all. It was a pleasure. I got to
having me.
dip. Hopefully, we see you next week.